Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Waste power. I can get stronger just by breathing. Chapter 1. Yesterday it was confirmed that the alien gates that appeared within half a light year of the solar system are the ruins of the Dark Ages. The alien race in the starry sky has not launched a large-scale attack. Please, citizens and friends, please do not listen to rumors, let alone spread them. Quote. In the Lunar Federation, the theft of the Ross family's Soul Realm Kung Fu has been solved, and the suspect will be executed in 3 days. Recently, 3 free-spirited warriors were born on Mars. Let us congratulate these 3 human elites who can physically cross the Star Sea. They are: in the Asian, Summer, region of the Earth Federation, the annual college entrance examination is about to begin. The number of people applying for the martial arts exam this time exceeds previous years. The number of students taking the martial arts exam is already more than twice that of the students taking the liberal arts exam. Earth Federation, Region, Sha. Hengcheng Number 1 Middle School, the classroom of the literary test class. Sugu sat by the window, looking at the plastic runway outside in a daze. Recalling the social news he saw this morning, he still felt a sense of magic even though it had been more than 10 years since he time-traveled. The technological level of this world is at least 3 centuries ahead of the previous world. Humanity has long since begun to colonize the solar system, targeting the stars and the sea. But when exploring the universe, humans discovered their natural enemies, the aliens in the stars. After 100 years of fighting, the aliens were finally driven out of the solar system 100 light years away. Although that tragic dark age left an indelible shadow on the human race, in the process of defeating natural enemies, humans also discovered inexhaustible wealth. Martial arts, ability, superpowers. The fantasy in the novel of his previous life has now come true, and Sugu still feels unreal about his awakening of supernatural powers. And maybe because he is a time traveler, he has some special abilities. Su Yi is pretending to be serious again. You have to take the martial arts test for your superpower. It's a useless superpower that can't even be rated. When you are divided into classes, the martial arts test class won't accept you. You can only come to us. Literary examination class. Are you still harboring illusions? Hehe, it doesn't matter if you are ranked first in the literary examination. In this world, what determines everything is force. You will be a clerk all your life, don't think about changing your destiny. The one of yours that can slightly increase your learning speed can also be called a superpower. Don't kid yourself, okay. You are just an ordinary person without superpowers. While Sugu was looking at the screen, the classmate sitting in front of him made an unfriendly mocking sound. But Sugu didn't care about this. As a person who had traveled through so many years, how could he care about these children whose mental age was so much worse than his own? He turned his head, showed a kind smile to those people, and then said lightly, I understand you. Those people were stunned for a moment, wondering what kind of medicine Sugu had taken wrongly. As classmates in the same class, you have worked hard for 3 years to avoid being eliminated from this key class for the literary test. In the past 3 years, although I was in the liberal arts class, I have been preparing for the martial arts exam. Even so, I have always ranked first in the school in all my courses for 3 years. You can only compete for second place. Besides these, I'm taller and more handsome than you. I just put myself in your shoes and thought about it. If I were you, it would be hard not to be jealous. Sugu said sincerely. So, I understand you very much. When Sugu said a word, these people's faces turned red. Later, their entire faces turned the color of pig liver. He. Just when these people were ready to curse. Ta. The high heels made a crisp sound as they stepped on the floor. The good brother next to Sugu, Ma Mingji, poked Sugu with his elbow. The weekly class is here. Sugu and the classmates who had just argued turned to look at the books on the desk, and the noisy classroom suddenly became quiet. A middle-aged woman with short hair and glasses walked into the classroom. This was Jo Lee, the head teacher of the liberal arts examination class. She coughed lightly first, and then erased the word 1, written on the classroom blackboard, 11 days to the college entrance examination. There are only the last 10 days left for this exam that will determine our fate to a large extent. Have you all finished your review? Can you guarantee that you will be able to enter the key points in 2 months? The classroom was quiet, as if in confession. After Teacher Joe looked around for a week, she nodded. Suddenly she seemed to remember something, and looked at Suji-yu hesitantly and said, "Sugu, are you still preparing for the martial arts test?" After being called on by the teacher, Suji-yu stood up politely and replied, "That's right, Teacher Joe. I'm taking the martial arts test." Teacher Joe's face fell into hesitation again. She usually acted vigorously and resolutely, which was very rare. Your superpower can only increase your learning speed and concentration, but it has no combat ability at all. On the A to F scale, you can't even get an F, which is a subpar ability. Without superpowers, it's impossible for you to pass the martial arts exam. Quote. After a while, she still said these negative words to the student. With Sugu's ability in literary examinations, he could easily choose any of the key universities. Why bother with the martial arts test? As a teacher, she really couldn't bear to see such a good talent take detours. After Teacher Joe said this, someone whispered, "Is this considered a superpower?" This sounded particularly harsh in the quiet classroom, and immediately caused a small chuckle. Ma Mingji was angry, and when he was about to refute, Suji-yu stopped him by holding his shoulder with his hand. In the face of these ridicules, his face remained calm, unperturbed by praise or criticism. The human world was saved by warriors, and now it is decided by warriors. Don't take the martial arts exam, don't become a warrior, just take the simple literary exam. To be honest, such a life is boring enough to see the end at a glance. I, Suji-yu, will never choose such a life. Suji-yu said this sentence calmly. The ridicule disappeared. In the literary exam class, no one, including the teacher, said that the literary exam was not as good as the martial arts exam. Because this is the fact. In the Dark Age, it was the warriors who saved mankind in the face of the alien races in the starry sky. Naturally, the status of warriors among humans has become increasingly lofty. Many things in society will be much easier to solve if there is a powerful warrior behind them. To be in a high position among human beings, one must have reached a certain level of martial arts cultivation before he or she can sit on it. This is even stipulated in the law. Then, do these students in the liberal arts class not want to take the martial arts exam? Of course they do. But their abilities are too poor, E level, F level, what's the point of going? When they were divided into classes after awakening their abilities in the first year of high school, they were not selected, so they could only come to the liberal arts exam class. During this period, these people did not try their best through other means, but as time passed, the resistance from teachers, friends, and family, as well as the cases they found gradually taught them a truth. It is important for people to know themselves. And now 3 years have passed, and in the entire liberal arts exam class, only Suji-yu has not given up. Just like he is now, standing out in the class like a crane among chickens. In the crowd, the classmate who mocked Suji-yu quietly lowered his head. Just as Suji-yu just said, the hostility of these people comes from jealousy in their hearts. They are jealous of Sugu's courage and persistence. Teacher Joe looked at Suji-yu with a complicated expression, and then said, "Sit down and listen to the class first, and come to my office after class." Teacher Joe began to write down the next exercises on the blackboard. Then, the students under the podium began to write furiously. Suji-yu also looked at the exercises on the blackboard with a leisurely expression. He had already solved the problem in his mind. Now he was teaching Ma Mingji next to him while breathing evenly and seriously. Of course, he participated in the martial arts exam not only with his passion, Suji-yu naturally had his own support. Feeling the contraction of his lungs, a voice that only he could hear rang in his mind. Complete a breath C-level gun fighting technique, pin-shaped burst shooting, experience +1, current combat skill proficiency is perfect mastery. Complete a breath C-level assassin step, instant step, experience +1, current combat skill proficiency is perfect mastery. Complete a breath C-level combat skill Qingfeng stab, experience +1, current combat skill proficiency is perfect mastery. This is Sugu's ability. As long as he breathes, he can increase the experience points of a skill he has already mastered. In other words, as long as Suji-yu is alive, he will become stronger. But the tricky thing about this ability is that only when Su Ji-yu focuses on improving a skill, will he give priority to adding points to that skill with every breath. If you let the ability run freely, it is very likely that after a day of hard work, the proficiency of combat skills will not be improved much, but you will feel that some mathematical formulas and literary poems have been stuffed into your mind for no reason. When Su Ji-yu just awakened this ability in the first year of high school, he didn't learn much combat skills. Every day, his mind was full of crazy +1s in Chinese, mathematics, and the Federal Common Language. This made Su Ji-yu, who was determined to become a powerful warrior after traveling here, feel that his mind was not clean. But now it's different. It has been 3 years since Su Ji-yu awakened his ability. In the 3 years of continuous improvement in martial arts experience day and night, he has improved all the combat skills available in the entire school to a state of perfect mastery. This is his biggest reliance for signing up for the martial arts exam. Ding-ling-the-ling. As the bell rang, the get out of class was over. Even if the get out of class is over, come back and read after going to the toilet. Maybe in 10 days, this can help you avoid 10 years of detours. After finishing the lecture, Teacher Jolie gave another instruction. Then she said, Su Ji-yu, come with me to the office. Su Ji-yu stood up and followed Jolie to the office in small steps. Jolie sat on a wooden chair, holding a glass cup of strong tea and looking at Su Ji-yu, sighed and said, in fact, to become a warrior, you don't have to take the martial arts exam. Nowadays, there are already martial arts training schools for adults in society. You can pass the literary exam and then try to become a warrior. Jolie tried to persuade him in the end. Teacher Joe, do you think those training institutions that don't even have the skills of the Zunwo realm can teach people who are warriors? Su Ji-yu said calmly. After the body is tempered to a certain extent in the self-cultivation realm, the skills are needed to lead the warrior on the next path. The martial arts, which are held by the noble families of the major planets, are secrets that are not passed on. In addition, warriors can break the limits of the human body. Some strong people can even cross the starry sea without the help of any equipment. It is unimaginable how much resources are needed to train an ordinary person to be like this. Those schools in society that don't even have martial arts are simply gyms that charge IQ taxes. Those noble families will not accept people of unknown origin, let alone give them martial arts. As an ordinary person, the only chance to become a strong person is to be admitted to the martial arts university supported by the Earth federal government. In this way, I can get more resources and investment. Only in this way can I obtain the martial arts and become a warrior. Jolie sighed and said, but the martial arts exam is different from the literary exam. There is only one question in the past years, fighting with the aliens in the starry sky captured by humans. This is life-threatening, and there have been deaths in the past years. Seeing that Su Gu's expression was still unmoved, Jolie understood and handed the 2 notes that had been prepared long ago to Su Ji-yu. This is for you. Su Ji-yu looked at the 2 slips of paper and was stunned for a moment. One was a request for leave, and the other one turned out to be a loan license for the school's martial arts equipment. The basic equipment for training martial arts students, Su Ji-yu, as a student in the literature class, usually has no chance to use it. Since you are determined to prepare for the martial arts exam, it is not appropriate to continue in our literature class. You can't go to the martial arts class, so I'll just ask for leave for you. As for the equipment issue, I'll ask the school leaders for instructions. Knowing that the other party was running for his own affairs, Su Ji-yu said gratefully, thank you, teacher. Jolie smiled and waved her hand and said, prepare well. Then she said with a complicated expression, don't force yourself in the examination room. If you encounter something wrong, find a way to retreat immediately. Su Ji-yu thanked his head teacher again, and then walked out of the office with a complicated expression. Although I know that the head teacher is worried about me, the way she looks at me feels like looking at a death row prisoner who is about to be hanged. Su Ji-yu touched his nose helplessly. No wonder, the shadow left by the alien race in the starry sky on ordinary people is too deep. Now the cinema is full of horror movies of this theme, and many people grew up listening to horror stories about this. For someone like me who has no lethal superpowers, facing those natural enemies of mankind, I guess in the eyes of Teacher Joe, it is just seeking death. Su Ji-yu almost wanted to sigh to the sky. He was also helpless. Although he could gain experience points with every breath, he didn't know any combat skills at all in the first year of high school. In the early stage, every time he added points to Chinese, math and English. Such superpowers, of course, can't be compared with those superpowers that can be reborn immediately after obtaining them. In terms of perception, it is even worse than F-level superpowers. It's different now. I've been working hard day and night for 3 years. I've learned and perfected all the fighting skills of the entire school's martial arts exam class. Those basic steps, knife skills, sword skills, I've improved them to the point where there's nothing more to improve. Even my physical strength, after my hard work day and night, and the tiny effect of the plug-in, is now as strong as that of a physical enhancement type of psychic. Now, even if I don't have any offensive powers, I must be the top candidate in the province. Sugu said calmly and confidently in his heart. He borrowed 2 pairs of gravity bracelets with a license to borrow martial arts equipment, and directly adjusted the gravity threshold of the bracelets to the highest value. After enduring 3 times the gravity, Sugu's breathing stagnated slightly, but then returned to normal. The biggest problem now is that I have been in the liberal arts test class for the past 3 years and have not had the opportunity to practice. I never know how strong I am. Take this opportunity to practice martial arts well when I get home later. I also want to find out what my current level is, Sugu said with a fiery face. At this moment, a familiar figure walked towards him, and he was stunned for a moment when he looked at the silly-looking fat man Sugu. It was his deskmate Ma Mingji. Aren't you going to prepare for the college entrance examination? I'm just like you, preparing to take the martial arts exam. Sugu was stunned for a moment. Ma Mingji's superpower is E-level, which is no better than Sugu. Why does he still need to take the martial arts test? I can do special moves. What special abilities do you have? My father donated a building to Shinkong Martial Arts University. This is an S-level power. How rich is my dad? It's really scary. Sugu sighed with emotion. Starry Sky Martial Arts University, the top university in the Chinese region of the Earth Federation, is also one of Sugu's target universities. Ma Mingji's father, Ma Kai, is the richest man in Hangzhou and is considered a rich man in the country. However, as the rich second generation, Ma Mingji and Sugu did not have the plot in a cliché novel. The relationship between the two can be said to be irreversible. Ma Mingji took off a watch-like thing from his wrist and handed it over, so I went to take the exam just to go through the motions. I kept these things of no use, so I gave them to you. Sugu's expression changed slightly as he looked at that thing. Is this an energy shield? The energy shield is a product of martial arts technology. It can project a half-human high-energy force field shield that is strong enough to withstand direct submachine gun fire. It is light and strong. The martial arts exam does not prohibit students from preparing their own weapons. After all, martial artists need a lot of resources. If you can get good things based on your background, it is also your own ability. As for fairness, warriors are warriors, and warriors go to the battlefield. There is no fairness in the battlefield. This thing is already a military product and is not accessible to ordinary people like Sugu. I can't have this thing. Sugu pushed the shield away. Take it, I don't want my brother to die in the examination room. Ma Mingji said seriously. Sugu's face twitched. Good fellow, the head teacher is like this, and so are you. I am going to take an exam, not a death row prisoner. He looked at the energy shield and felt more and more like, eat something good before I die. There's really no need for this. Sugu sighed. He looked at what Ma Mingji wanted to say and stopped him. Brother, if you really want to give me something, then change it to another one. I lack a high-quality combat skill. After all, ours is a comprehensive high school, not a martial arts high school that selects martial artists and takes martial arts exams. The combat skills are only C-level at most, so I need a powerful offensive combat skill. Quote, when all your abilities are extremely balanced, outstanding expertise is extremely important. Sugu understands this very well. That's why I shamelessly asked my brother for it. Ma Mingji looked troubled. What, you can't get this? Sugu looked puzzled. Considering how rich his Ma family was, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. No, just ask me to give you combat skills. What type of combat skills do you want? My family is a trench, but there is no way my dad can get a lot of A-level combat skills collections that we don't practice at all. Ma Mingji said truthfully. Generally, warriors will have their own tendencies when it comes to choosing combat skills. For example, those who are good at using firearms will choose combat skills related to gunfighting. Those who are good at daggers will choose dexterity and assassin-type combat skills. But Sugu just said that he wanted combat skills, and the fat man Ma Mingji suddenly couldn't do it. Sugu also understood what his problem was. After thinking about it for a while, he said honestly, whatever. Ma Mingji felt like he was going crazy. Can this be done casually? I'm really casual. Finally, under Ma Mingji's extremely complicated gaze, Su Ji-yu got a copy of the A-level combat skill, Lion Roaring 10,000 Tigers Sword. This combat skill was born from the famous boxing of a general in the Earth Federation. The sword is fierce and domineering. When it is practiced to perfection, there will be a roar of a lion and a tiger when swinging the sword, which will shock the enemy's mind. I spent 3 years to practice this combat skill to perfection, Ma Mingji said proudly. Then he used his hand as a knife and waved it casually. There seemed to be a real sound coming out of his fat body. Meow, cough cough. Ma Mingji failed to pretend and coughed dryly a few times. Brother, you should practice hard in the next 10 days. As long as you can master the A-level combat skills to the extent of a glimpse of the door, it will not be a problem to save your life in the martial arts exam. Su Ji-yu was very satisfied after flipping through the combat skills casually. Thanks, brother, I will go to Starry Sky Martial Arts University with you. Ma Mingji smiled and didn't care about this sentence. After Su Ji-yu said goodbye to him, he went home to learn combat skills. While riding the bus, he was fascinated by the demonstration video of Lion Roaring 10,000 Tiger Swords, sent by Ma Mingji on his mobile phone, as well as the text explanation. Being immersed in one thing, time passed quickly, and Su Ji-yu returned home. As an orphan with no income, Sugu's home was allocated by the federal government. Since it is a residence allocation, many things are naturally not as good as expected. The community where he lives is not only remote, but also several houses have not been inspected for many years and are dangerous buildings. Su Ji-yu went upstairs and pushed the door to enter his home. His home is a cement house without any fancy decorations. All the donations and government relief funds he received were used to buy energy supplements and training weapons needed to become a warrior, and meals were provided free of charge by the school. The only furniture in the house was a futon. Su Ji-yu took out a knife and sat on the futon, holding the knife in one hand and carefully flipping through the combat skills book on his mobile phone with the other hand. When he finally finished reading the combat book, he sat cross-legged on the mat and closed his eyes. His experience in basic swordsmanship gained from 3 years of points helped him understand this new combat skill at a speed that others could not imagine. After a moment, Su Ji-yu took a deep breath like a whale sucking water, and then exhaled slowly. When he finished exhaling, a voice sounded in his mind. Complete a breath A-level combat skill Lion Roar 10,000 Tiger Sword, experience +1, current combat skill proficiency is, a glimpse of the door. It's done, Su Ji-yu said lightly. Relying on the practice in his brain, he got started with this combat skill. Next, it is to rely on repeated practice to gain experience points and increase skill proficiency. In Sugu's mind, the experience of using the combat skill, Lion Roar 10,000 Tiger Sword, keeps increasing with every breath he takes. Complete a breath, combat skill, Lion Roar 10,000 Tiger Sword, experience +1. Complete a breath, combat skill, Lion Roar 10,000 Tiger Sword, experience +1. Complete a breath combat skill, Lion Roar 10,000 Tigers Sword, experience +1. 10 minutes later, Su Ji-yu casually swung the sword forward, and a burst of lion roars and tiger roars entangled in the sword wind sweeping the white blade. Complete a breath combat skill, Lion Roar 10,000 Tigers Sword, experience +1, current combat skill proficiency is slightly accomplished. Okay, I have mastered the A-level combat skill, Su Ji-yu said excitedly. This is the first A-level combat skill he has mastered thoroughly. You should know that other high schools that specialize in martial arts colleges can be regarded as the best in martial arts schools even if they only have entry-level B-level combat skills. Mastering A-level combat skills, even without superpowers, is enough to impact the top 100 in the city and the top 700 in the province. You can definitely go to a key martial arts university. In addition to these, I have achieved perfection in all the combat skills in the school. These add up to more than just the top 300. I also want to measure how strong I am. Let's perform martial arts, Su Ji-yu said with a burning look. Then he closed his eyes, picked up the long sword beside him and stood up. In just a moment, Su Ji-yu entered a state of mind without any external things. The long sword in his hand moved as he wished, and he did not practice only the lion roaring 10,000 tiger sword combat technique. He also mixed in other sword techniques and moves that he had learned in the past 3 years. The sword moves were sometimes as powerful as a tiger, and sometimes treacherous and difficult to find. When he was practicing, Su Ji-yu stomped his right foot on the ground. A shoe print was left on the reinforced concrete ground. Who is it? Are you demolishing the building? The whooshing noise is so scary. Who is using an excavator in their own home? It's disturbing the neighbors. It's coming from Xiao Su's house. Why do I hear the sound of a knife? Did he meet a bad guy? It's hard to say. Xiao Su is about to take the college entrance examination. We can't let anything happen now. Let's call the police. Su Gu's wanton use of fighting skills finally attracted the attention of the neighbors in the building. For safety reasons, these neighbors began to seek help from the police. Su Ji-yu let out a long howl, and then the long knife in his hand slashed out, and a knife light turned into a solid and left the blade. Oh no, he just made a move and realized that something was wrong, but the knife force had already shot out and could not be retracted at all. In an instant, the cement wall of his house, along with the steel bars inside, was cut off together, and a light transmitting hole appeared on the entire wall. My house, Su Ji-yu wailed. He opened his eyes and woke up from his flow proficiency. Then he saw the shoe prints he had stepped on all over the room, from the floor to the ceiling. The cracked cement surface near the shoe prints and the exposed steel bars seemed to tell of the strength of the culprit. It shouldn't be like this. I have long reached the state of lifting heavy things as if they were light, lifting light things as if they were heavy, and following my heart. I can only cut off the wings of a fly with a knife without hurting its life. How could such a big loss be caused by a mere martial arts performance? Su Ji-yu pondered, thinking about what was wrong with his martial arts. Suddenly he found that he had been wearing the triple gravity bracelet on his hand and had never taken it off. Su Ji-yu wanted to curse. Doesn't the instruction manual of this thing say that it must be taken off after wearing it for 10 minutes, otherwise it will cause damage to the body? He wore it from school to home and during practice for several hours. I didn't feel anything. Now he is subconsciously resisting triple gravity, causing his power to go out of control and tear down his house. Who designed this waste product? It's pure harm. After knowing that his martial arts skills are fine, Su Ji-yu began to calculate the damage to the house caused by this training. The more he calculated, the more distressed he felt. After a moment, he sighed and said, "Forget it, just treat it as eliminating the bad luck before the college entrance examination in advance. My luck is already so bad, and I will definitely get better next time." As soon as he finished speaking, there was a knock on the door. "Open the door, police, check the water meter." Su Ji-yu. The responsible police officer carefully questioned Su Ji-yu for half an hour and called the school to verify. Finally, it was confirmed that Su Ji-yu was a martial arts student and that he had not been robbed by martial artists while practicing martial arts at home. It was not a martial artist pretending to be a victim. Then, as usual, he checked Su Gu's home. Looking at the damage Su Ji-yu had caused on the reinforced concrete surface and repeatedly confirming Su Gu's age, these people were amazed. Before leaving, the police told him that he could practice martial arts but not cause nuisance to the public, and then left Su Ji-yu with his contact information. They said that if Su Ji-yu was interested in the police officer university in the martial arts exam 10 days later, they could write a letter of recommendation. Su Ji-yu smiled and said, "Thank you, police officer." Then he sent the police officers out. He casually threw the letter of recommendation behind him. The Police Officer University is a key university that many martial arts students dream of, but Su Ji-yu has no intention of choosing it. Since he traveled through time, he knew that this world had martial arts that were not available in his previous life, so he made up his mind to walk this path. Other things were not considered. Just practicing a long sword, and it caused such damage. I was going to practice all the 18 weapons, side weapons, and basic boxing tonight. Now let's see, forget it. After all, martial arts is a killing skill. Even if the power is at the will, it cannot be used without scruples. In a civilized society, it will have a bad influence on neighbors and yourself. Go to the martial arts hall to practice tomorrow. Su Ji-yu made a brief plan, then sat cross-legged on the futon, while disassembling the fighting skills in his mind, and fell asleep. At 6 o'clock the next day, Su Ji-yu opened his eyes from the futon on time, not a second late. After a simple wash, he sent a message to Ma Mingji and went out to the martial arts hall. Xiao Su, the police told us about what happened last night. You can't practice martial arts too much. The college entrance examination is coming soon. If you practice too much, it will hurt your body. I'm sorry for disturbing you, Grandpa Lu. I'll buy you a bottle of wine after the exam. That's what we mean. Neighbors in the community, who all hope you can do better in the exam. We just hope you don't put too much pressure on yourself. You have to go out to practice martial arts so early. You are too diligent. The old men and women who just left the apartment building and got up early for morning exercises surrounded Su Ji-yu and said with concern. Although the residential area is not good, the neighbors are harmonious. Su Ji-yu feels very warm every day here. Smiled and thanked the neighbors for their blessings. Su Ji-yu left the community, took the bus to the city, walked 100 meters, and came to the city's largest martial arts hall, Wu's Martial Arts Hall. The 40-meter-high building is full of the sound of martial arts practice. The luxurious decoration outside the door shows that the consumption here is not low. Great discount, 600 for one practice in the martial arts hall, half price for college entrance examination candidates. It's so expensive, it's simply robbery. Looking at the sign at the door, Su Ji-yu sighed. He came to the martial arts gym to practice casually for an hour, without even the guidance of a famous teacher, and it cost him 300 yuan just for this time. It's just like this in the early stage of martial arts. The further you go, the more resources you need will increase exponentially. If you want to roam the stars, the resources you need are even more astronomical. No wonder most top martial artists come from aristocratic families. For ordinary people like us, the only way to become martial artists is to take the college entrance examination. Su Ji-yu shook his head slightly, but he didn't feel sad because of the money. After all, he called for support from Mr. Ma before leaving. Oh my God, Brother Su, you asked me out early in the morning, not to play, but to the martial arts gym. And you want me to pay. Do you still have a conscience? Ma Mingji came out from somewhere and complained beside Su Ji-yu. Su Ji-yu smiled and said, the college entrance examination is coming soon. After the exam, let's go crazy again. Ma Mingji nodded happily and said with a smile, okay, I'm so hardworking. When the time comes, I can use this as an excuse to ask my dad to make some pocket money. It's only 600 yuan, I still have money to earn. The two walked into the martial arts hall side by side. Ma Mingji ran to the front desk to pay, while Su Ji-yu was lost in thought at the oil paintings hanging in the magnificent hall. It was an oil painting with the theme of the dark ages of humanity. One after another, human heroes who left their names in history fought against alien races in the starry sea. The heroic posture and strong martial arts will conveyed in the oil painting infected the people outside the painting. A real man should be like this. Su Ji-yu clenched his fist involuntarily and said secretly in his heart. You are, Su Ji-yu, you haven't given up the martial arts exam yet. A surprised voice interrupted Su Gu's thoughts of looking at the oil painting. He looked back, seeing the familiar school uniform, the same as his own. He was stunned for a moment and said uncertainly. No, one middle school, martial arts class, Zhengdi. He seemed to be in the same school as him, and the first in the martial arts class. Su Ji-yu was a little unsure. Zhengdi nodded, and his expression was a little surprised. The person in front of him was a big celebrity in the school. He was found to have the most useless superpower in the history of the school in the first year of high school, which caused a sensation. In the second year of high school, he went to the study room of the martial arts class to borrow combat skills and exercise his body. He insisted on taking the martial arts class. Even so, he still ranked first in the whole school in the liberal arts exam. He can be said to be a weirdo among the weirdos. Now in the third year of high school, he hasn't seen Su Ji-yu come to the school's combat hall to study for a long time, and thought that he had finally given up this path. I thought you had given up the martial arts exam. To be honest, you can just be the top scorer in the liberal arts exam. Why waste time and energy? Things that are not suitable or not suitable. I think I can still give it a try. Sugu smiled and didn't explain much. The other party is not familiar with him, and after 9 days, everything will be revealed. Why say anything more? Jungdi, he is the one you said was the weird one in your school. A boy with slicked back hair and an arrogant walking posture walked out from behind Jungdi. He stood in front of Sugu and looked at him up and down. Brother, your supernatural powers are not even considered to be in the mainstream, and you are still taking a crappy martial arts test. You should give up now. Why do you have to run out and waste social resources? After he finished speaking, the look on his face became even more arrogant, and he seemed to really enjoy the feeling of guiding other people's lives. He spoke loudly and exposed Sugu's short hair directly in front of everyone, which attracted some sideways glances from people passing by. Even though Sugu usually has a good temper, he is frowning slightly now. He and the other party don't know each other, so what is he pretending to do in front of him? Wu Yi, what are you pretending to be? In the martial arts gym, if your father is not here, no one will educate you, right? Sugu and I are guests, do you understand? Believe it or not, I told your dad about this and asked him to kill you. After paying the money, Ma Mingji saw his brother being blocked by someone. He immediately ran over, pointed at Wu Yi with great momentum, and pushed him over with a louder voice than him. When Wu Yi saw others talking about his father, his eyes and nostrils suddenly bulged. But when he saw Ma Mingji, he immediately took his breath back. Ma Mingji's father is the richest man in this area, more powerful than his father who runs a martial arts gym. He can be arrogant in front of Sugu, but not in front of Ma Mingji. After the four of them were in a stalemate for a while, Ma Mingji pulled Sugu and left the martial arts hall. Wu Yi from Martial Arts High School, he owns this martial arts gym. If he gives you trouble in the future, you come to me. Haha, no need. Sugu didn't pay attention to this matter. How's it going, brother? Wasn't he handsome just now? Ma Mingji turned his head and said with a proud look on his face. My son has grown up and knows how to be filial to his father. Sugu sighed. Get out of here, grandson. Depend on. Isn't it because your father is richer than mine? When I go to a top martial arts university and surpass you in cultivation, I'll see how arrogant you can be. Wu Yi cursed. Jungdi looked at Wu Yi and said nothing. Although the two sides clashed over Su Ji-yu, for a useless superpower like Su Ji-yu, his life would definitely be in danger if he participated in the martial arts test, and it could even be said to be death. He is destined not to become a warrior. The identity of a warrior can be equated with many beautiful terms such as money, power, and strength. This destined that Sugu would not be in the same circle as them in the future. The only person worth caring about is Ma Mingji, and Sugu can completely ignore it. Stop complaining, open a martial arts training room, and we can compete. Jungdi looked at Wu Yi and said calmly. Even so, Sugu is from our school, and you are an arrogant idiot from a foreign school. Martial arts practice is a highly private matter. No one wants their combat skills to be exposed and studied by others. Ma Mingji and Sugu opened a martial arts training room alone, and they met for a dinner an hour later. Sugu entered his training room. The walls around the martial arts room are made of black alloy, and various cold weapons and commonly used firearms are neatly placed at the entrance. Sugu's face gradually showed excitement. He took off his school uniform, revealing the black military uniform underneath. The lean and streamlined muscles are revealed. Coupled with his sunny and handsome face, the male hormones are simply overflowing. He stood on tiptoes and jumped slightly. Sugu's body rose slowly. When the soles of his feet were more than 1 meter above the ground, his body rose to the highest point, and then the whole person stayed in the air at the origin for 30 seconds. Then it fell slowly like a feather. This ability to stay in the air, which seems to defy gravity, is a manifestation of the peak mastery of one's own muscles. The condition is good. Sugu clenched and relaxed his fists. He randomly took 2 assassin daggers from the entrance. The dagger turned back and forth in the palms of his hands, like 2 flying butterflies. After feeling the length and center of gravity of the weapon, Sugu held the 2 daggers forward and backward. First come 100 human stakes, Sugu said, licking his lips. The human stake is a humanoid target made of synthetic meat. The feedback produced after an attack is close to the human body. A common item in self-training in martial arts schools is how many human stakes a martial artist can cause fatal damage to within a specified time. At the secret door of the martial arts room, 100 humanoid flesh targets moved on rollers quickly came in. These meaty targets moved wildly on the field at the fastest sprint speed of ordinary people, and from time to time they would slam into Sugu from the blind spot. And Sugu suddenly disappeared on the spot, and the human pile hit the air. Tower, the sound of footsteps. Combat skill shunstep. Sugu suddenly appeared behind the human stake, the dagger in his hand piercing the heart. Cause fatal damage, kill count 1. The radio in the martial arts training room made a sound, and immediately after the human stake was penetrated through the heart, it lost its power source and stayed in place. And Sugu's figure disappeared again. Tower, shunstep. He reappeared behind the human pile 20 meters away. Cause fatal damage, kill count 2. Tower, cause fatal damage, kill count 16. Tower, cause fatal damage, kill count 100. Congratulations on completing the challenge, it took 31.12 seconds. Congratulations on breaking the martial arts gym's fastest time record. Are you willing to leave a record of your name? No, anonymous. Sugu stopped next to the last meat pile and shook his head with some dissatisfaction. In other words, if I use a dagger and face 100 adults, it will take me more than 30 seconds to deal with it. Sure enough, assassins are not suitable for confrontation. Immediately afterwards, Sugu took out a long sword. 100 more. Hundreds of human stakes attacked again. This time Sugu did not disappear. He held a long sword in his hand and rushed towards the human stake closest to him. Combat skill, breeze stab. Cause fatal damage, kill count 100. Congratulations on completing the challenge, it took 24.78 seconds. Congratulations on breaking the martial arts gym's fastest time record. Are you willing to leave a record of your name? Anonymous. Sugu licked his lips, the warm-up was completed, and his body began to gradually heat up. This time he switched to a long stick. Congratulations on completing the challenge, it took 20.11 seconds. Gun. Congratulations on completing the challenge, it took 16.14 seconds. Comma. Bow. Congratulations on completing the challenge, it took 12.34 seconds. Aha! Sugu couldn't help but let out a cry of relief. This feeling of using your own power without any scruples is so refreshing. Moreover, during the battle, Sugu felt that the combat skills that he had already mastered were actually loosening, and the experience value increased with every breath. Complete 1 breath C-level assassin steps. Shunpo experience +5, current combat skill proficiency is perfect mastery. Complete 1 breath C-level combat skill breeze stab experience +3, current combat skill proficiency is perfect mastery. In the past, every time Sugu breathed, his experience value would only increase a little, but in actual combat, it would increase several times. Sure enough, warriors still have to fight in real combat. This human body is a dead thing after all. If the person I fight is a star alien race or a real person, then maybe I can take the opportunity to break through to the realm of mastery of these combat skills. Sugu licking his lips, he picked up a long knife. Lion's Roar and 10,000 Tiger Blades is the only A-level combat skill he has mastered, and it is also the most lethal ability today. The moment he was about to use his combat skills, his entire aura changed. 2,000 more, Sugu said with high fighting spirit. Only 980 of the human stakes in the Wu Family Martial Arts Hall have been destroyed by you. Sugu was stunned for a moment. Did he clear the level? Then bring up all 980. Sugu said helplessly. Then, At the secret door where the human body was transported, there was a vibration as if the earth was shaking. A group of flesh man piles rushed towards Su Ji-yu like a wave, and the number seemed to fill the room. However, Su Ji-yu seemed to be unaware of it. At this moment, he could only feel himself and the knife in his hand. When the man, knife and spirit were combined into one, Su Ji-yu slashed hard. The terrifying knife light, accompanied by the roar of an ancient beast, swept the entire martial arts room. The more than 900 flesh man piles were torn apart in an instant, and a crack was cut into the wall of the martial arts room made of black alloy. Congratulations on completing the challenge in 1.21 seconds. Not bad. Su Ji-yu nodded with satisfaction. Although the whole room was messed up by him, the user does not need to compensate for any damage in the martial arts room. This is the rule. Su Ji-yu looked at the time. It was almost an hour. It was time to have dinner with Ma Mingji. I won. Zheng Di was pale, holding a bladeless dagger against Wu Yi's heart. The sword in Wu Yi's hand fell off, and he cursed and admitted defeat. The two ended the competition. Wu Yi looked at Zheng Di in disbelief. You can actually activate Instant Step 3 times in a short period of time. Although Instant Step is only a C-level combat skill, it is extremely practical and is a must-have skill for assassins. In the hands of experienced assassins, this thing is more terrifying than many B-level skills. Zheng Di's face was calm, but he was proud in his heart. In fact, his limit is to activate Instant Step 4 times in a row within 20 seconds. It is precisely because of this ability that as a student of a comprehensive high school, he will challenge Wu Yi, who is in the key class of a martial arts high school. It is also because of this ability that he has the confidence to impact the key institutions of martial arts university. I dare not say more, but the first place in our school's martial arts exam this year must be me. Zheng Di said secretly in his heart. Bang! At this moment, a sound like an explosion came from the martial arts training room above his head. Then, Wu Yi's mobile phone sent a reminder. There are not enough human stakes. Please replenish them as soon as possible. The two looked at each other and were stunned. That's not right. The human stakes were just delivered to our family yesterday. What was that explosion just now? Did someone plant explosives in the martial arts room? The two got up from their resting chairs at the same time and went to check what was going on. Wu Yi and Zheng Di took the elevator and headed towards the martial arts training room. During this period, Wu Yi took her mobile phone and used the internal app of the martial arts studio to check the status of the batch of human flesh piles that had just been purchased at home. Wu Yi looked at the picture on her mobile phone of the recycling warehouse with piles of human flesh, and she fell into a state of jaw-dropping. A group of masters came to my martial arts gym today. He poked Zheng Di beside him and showed him the picture on his phone. Zheng Di glanced at it and couldn't help but widen his eyes. Thousands of human corpses were damaged. Some seemed to have been shot directly through the head by sharpshooters, some were torn in half by berserkers with bare hands, and some were crushed into pulp by heavily armored warriors. There were some visible wounds. It was obviously the swordsman's doing. Could it be that a group of professional martial artists got into trouble and then formed a team to come to my martial arts gym for a racing competition to dismantle human piles? Wu Yi thought for a long time before thinking of this possibility, and then said, but there are not many visitors to my house today. Is the ratio of experts today so high? Is it possible that all these human flesh piles were destroyed by one person? Zheng Di said this as if he was whimsical. Wu Yi immediately rolled his eyes and said, are you stupid? Let's not mention that it is impossible for anyone to master so many completely different styles of fighting skills at the same time. One person can cut down thousands of human stakes. I will kill my family if I take out the inventory and ask you to cut it in one day. Can you do it? Zheng Di knew that he had just said something stupid and immediately pursed his lips and shook his head. Just kidding, the mannequin can move and very fast. Moreover, if the intelligence system inside the human body does not determine that the human body has not been fatally injured, it will not stop moving at all. He usually cuts 300 and reaches his limit. Look at these human stakes. They seem to be made by assassins. You can judge the opponent's level. Zheng Di threw the phone away, and Wu Yi was stunned when she looked at the photo of the human body. 100 human stakes were all inserted directly into the heart, and no signs of struggle could be seen from the wounds. Obviously the person who did it was extremely fast and his movements were very neat. If there was only one human body like this, Zhang Di asked himself if he was lucky and in good condition today, he could do it, but if more than 100 of them were like this, it would be a bit scary. In Zhang Di's mind, the image of a cold-blooded, ruthless, efficient and terrifying killer had begun to form. I feel like these 100 human corpses were all solved using Shunpo, he said with some uncertainty. 100 human corpses, all using Shunpo. Wu Yi clicked her tongue. There is only one possibility, or he uses a step combat skill that is even more advanced than Shunpo. Even so, I estimate that it will take a minute and a half to defeat 100 of them. That's scary enough. You have to know that assassins who are just human beings suffer more than other types of warriors. Zhang Di said leisurely. With such martial arts ability, as long as he has a passable C-level ability, he will most likely be among the top 100 in the province. But I estimate that those who can do this are most likely not students. After all, it's impossible that I haven't heard of assassins of the same age at this level. While the two were chatting, the elevator door dinged and they arrived on their floor. The elevator door opened, and the 4 people inside and outside the door were stunned for a moment. Sugu really didn't expect that he would meet these 2 people again by such a coincidence today. He stepped aside to let the 2 of them out, and then squeezed into the elevator with Ma Mingji. Sugu, come on for the martial arts test. Before the elevator door closed, Zhang Di suddenly turned around and said to Sugu, who was from the same school. Come on, too. Sugu's voice floated out from the elevator. After the 2 groups passed each other, they went about their own business. Sugu and Ma Mingji went out to look for food, while Zhang Di and Wu Yi continued to look for the source of the sound that seemed to explode just now. The 2 of them went to search for the martial arts training room on this floor one by one. When they entered the martial arts training room that Sugu had just walked out of, they fell into a state of jaw-dropping. I'll be a good boy, Wu Yi murmured. In the martial arts room, there were hundreds of human corpses lying in random directions. These were items that had failed to be recovered even as the metal rollers used to move the human corpses were damaged. Normally, 1 or 2 bodies can be found in a martial arts room at most, and exaggeratedly there are only dozens of them. For all the years Wu Yi's family has been running a martial arts studio, they have never seen hundreds of bodies placed in one room. This is not the focus of what happened in this martial arts room. A sharp and extremely violent slashing combat skill cut the entire room in half. Sunlight shines through the broken holes in the black alloy wall and shines on their faces. Have you cut corners on the protection of your martial arts training room? Zhang Di murmured. You fart. The metal on the walls around my martial arts room is made of black gold. This is the hardest metal synthesized by humans and can be made into weapons for professional warriors. Wu Yi stared and said, to be able to cause such destructive power, it must be an offensive power above a level. Perhaps he has mastered an extremely terrifying combat skill, or it is simply the work of a strong person in the Zunwo realm. Wu Yi added 2 possibilities and continued. Do you think the ones who caused such damage could be students in the same grade as us? If it is really a student who did it, then he will use his ability to hit the top 3 in the province. Wu Yi murmured. However, I am more inclined to think that this is a strong man who is hiding in the city, or an officially registered professional warrior. Otherwise, I would not be able to name such a high-level warrior of the same year. Zhang Di asked cautiously, can your family find out the identity of the warrior who caused such damage? Wu Yi rolled her eyes. Are you stupid? How private are the martial arts among warriors? Why do you still need me to educate you? It is against the laws of the Earth Federation to randomly inquire about other people's hidden skills and combat skills. Quote, if we can find out the identity of this martial artist from my martial arts school, he doesn't have to do anything. He just needs to publicize this matter and my family's business will be over. Zhang Di nodded with great regret and said, what a pity. I still thought I could meet this master and let him give me some advice before the college entrance examination. Wu Yi nodded and said, if this happens, it's a chance. Maybe it can help us climb 10th place in the college entrance examination in the province. It's a pity that on the way to this martial arts room, we met Ma Mingji and Sugu. It seems that we are destined to miss this senior. And the ideas are indeed memorized. Even though there are so many powerful warriors with different styles coming to my martial arts gym today, we actually haven't met any of them. Both of them shook their heads sadly. Then Wu Yi took her cell phone and took crazy photos in this martial arts training room. What are you doing? Still thinking about filing a claim for compensation? I'm sorry. Such an awesome martial artist came to my martial arts studio. I'm just taking photos and promoting them later. At the strong request of Ma Mingji, who was hit by a butcher and was covered in bruises, Sugu accompanied him to find a medicinal restaurant. I called 10 meat steaks and chased them for half an hour, but I couldn't catch them and I was hit with bruises all over my body. Ma Mingji took off his school uniform in the restaurant, revealing his round belly that was rounded out by his military uniform. Don't come to me about this in the future. My life will be ruined every day. Ma Mingji looked at Su Ji-yu who was drinking tea and said. But I don't think there's anything wrong with you, kid. You didn't ask me to come over, but you ended up just lazing around in the martial arts room. How is that possible? Su Ji-yu argued. I cut down nearly 5,000 human steaks this morning. You're just bragging. If you can really cut down 5,000, you'll have cut down all the stocks in Wu Yi's martial arts school. Ma Mingji casually picked up a piece of abalone and put it in his mouth. After chewing and swallowing, he changed the subject. Brother Su, come to work in my company after you graduate. As long as I can make the decision, you can choose any position. After my father gives me the position, we'll work together. Su Ji-yu looked at Ma Mingji's sincere eyes and was stunned for a moment. Then he smiled. Why, you don't believe me either. Although Ma Mingji's family is rich, the company under their family has little to do with martial arts. Ma Mingji is obviously helping him think of a way out after the college entrance examination. That's right, you're going to take the martial arts exam soon, brother, you shouldn't mention this now. I'll treat you to this meal. Ma Mingji buried his face in the bowl, and in the steaming white smoke, the two ended the topic of the conversation again. Su Ji-yu was silent for a moment, and found that the food on the table was disappearing quickly, and he realized something was wrong. You, old man, leave some for me. Su Ji-yu picked up his chopsticks and grabbed it. Grandson, you grab your father's bowl with chopsticks. After eating with Ma Mingji, Su Ji-yu went home directly. He had already measured his current ability in the martial arts hall, and teacher Jolie also gave him a leave note. In the next few days, Su Ji-yu planned to adjust his physical condition at home. 9 days later, he will face the college entrance examination in peak condition. In addition, he also had to report to the government about the weapons needed for the martial arts exam. The weapons in his home can only be used for practice, and they are not good enough to kill the star aliens that will definitely appear in the exam. If he bought them himself, his family really had no money, and there was no way to buy them. So he could only ask for help from the federal government. While Su Ji-yu was preparing for the martial arts exam, his head teacher Jolie was busy with his affairs at the moment. After all the students reported their willingness to take the civil and military exams, the principal called one after another. How can you be a class teacher? You actually let a child with mediocre abilities take the military exam. You are too irresponsible. The principal's scolding voice kept coming out on the phone. This is also the child's wish. As a teacher, I can only guide him and cannot interfere with his choice. Jolie replied weakly. The premise of respecting children is to be responsible for their safety. The difficulty of the military exam has increased again this year. For children without superpowers, taking the military exam is simply suicide. You will call the child named Su Ji-yu later and tell him that since he has already registered, the school cannot change the uploaded registration form. Let him give up the exam quickly and come to the school to repeat next year. He will not be charged tuition for the year of repeating. After giving this unquestionable order, the principal of Hangzhou No. 1 Middle School hung up the phone. How could she, as a teacher, disobey the principal's words? Jolie sighed slightly, opened the phone address book, and scrolled down to Sugu's name. She stared at the green dial button for a while, but didn't press it in the end. If Su Ji-yu just chose the martial arts exam on a whim, the principal wouldn't have to look for her. As the class teacher, she would stop him no matter what. But she knew that Su Ji-yu was fine, so she sneaked into the equipment room of the martial arts class to train her body. He spent all his spare time borrowing combat skills books. His efforts lasted for 3 whole years, and it was definitely not a whim. She even knew that many students in the class, although jealous of Sugu's persistence in the martial arts exam, also secretly regarded him as an opponent and competed with him. Why do you want to take the martial arts exam every day, and you can still get the first place in our literary exam? This made it easier for her to manage students. The student has been fighting for 3 years, and he didn't even try, so he gave up. This shouldn't be done. And even if he fails, isn't pain also a part of youth? Jolie put down her phone and sighed in her heart. 9 days later, the martial arts exam day arrived. Su Ji-yu opened his eyes on the mat. Beside him were 3 standard weapons made of fine steel that he had applied for from the government. A knife, a gun, and a pair of daggers. Although Su Ji-yu was proficient in all weapons, the government could not really move the weapon shop to the examination room just for him. Su Ji-yu could not bring a sack of equipment to the examination, as that would affect his performance. He could only choose 3 at most. And these 3 were Sugu's choices after careful consideration, which were enough to deal with all situations in the examination room. He put his hands together and stood up from the mat with only the strength of his feet. He opened his eyes, feeling that he had adjusted to the peak state both mentally and physically, and walked out of the door slowly with 3 weapons. Xiao Su has an exam today. You must work hard and try to get into a good university so that our community can benefit from it. Don't put too much pressure on Xiao Su. The military exam is dangerous. Xiao Su, you must ensure your own safety first. Xiao Su, have you eaten breakfast? Come to my house for a meal first. Come on, brother Xiao Su. After going out, all the neighbors I met greeted me and cheered for Su Ji-yu with a smile. Su Ji-yu responded with a smile one by one. Among them, Grandpa Liu, the most enthusiastic person in the community, was waiting for Su Ji-yu at the door early. He handed Su Ji-yu a prayer talisman that he had obtained from the temple. Su Ji-yu held the talisman tightly and hung it on the handle of the long sword. Xiao Su, you must work hard. Okay. With the expectations of his neighbors, Su Ji-yu stepped out of the community and headed all the way to school. Near the school, a group of parents stood by the car, repeatedly admonishing their children. He could even see Ma Mingji's busy father. After all, this may be the most important exam in life. Sugu's heart moved slightly and he stepped into the campus. More than 40 camouflage troop carriers were parked in the parking lot on the campus. On the next journey, the military will escort these students who may become warriors in the future to the examination site to participate in the martial arts exam. Brother, here. Ma Mingji's voice sounded, and Su Ji-yu followed the voice. He saw Ma Mingji, the head teacher Jolie, and his classmates in the literary exam class. Why are you still here? Isn't the literature exam over? Su Ji-yu looked at them and said in confusion. Lu Jingjing, the monitor and student committee member of the literature exam class, came out. She looked at Su Ji-yu and said seriously. Su Ji-yu, everyone used to mock you, just as you said, because they were jealous of you. We are people who are determined not to be warriors like you, and we are jealous of your persistence. But your figure of continuous efforts in the past 3 years has indeed become a beam of light in the hearts of many classmates. I say sorry to you on behalf of everyone. Now that the classmates have completed the college entrance examination, they stay here just to cheer you up. Behind Lu Jingjing, the cheers of classmates immediately rang out. That's right, Su Ji-yu, come on, let them see who said that literature candidates can't take the martial arts exam. That's right, who said that poor superpowers can't be warriors, come back after passing the exam at a key university. Come on, Su Ji-yu. Su Ji-yu smiled brightly and waved to these classmates one by one. Why do you guys only call Su Ji-yu and no one calls me by my name? Ma Mingji on the side said loudly. I worked hard for the martial arts exam, okay. I've lost weight these past 2 days. I think it's more reliable for us to go out and cheer for your dad. Su Ji-yu said seriously. Ha ha ha. For a moment, the class burst into laughter. After completing the registration with the head teacher, Su Ji-yu and Ma Mingji entered the troop carrier and prepared to enter the examination room. In the entire Hangzhou No. 1 middle school, only Su Ji-yu and Ma Ming-ji were willing to take the martial arts exam in the liberal arts class. It was impossible to set aside a troop transport vehicle for these two people, so the two could only squeeze into one vehicle with the students in the martial arts class. Among these classmates who had been together for 3 years, two strangers of the same age suddenly appeared, as conspicuous as ink spots in the snow. Who are these two people? One of Ma Kai's sons. I guess his richest father spent a lot of money on him to pave a martial arts road. There is another one, the weirdo in the liberal arts class. He is Su Ji-yu. He doesn't even have a legal level, and he wants to take the martial arts exam with his inferior supernatural powers. After recognizing Su Gu's identity, these students in the martial arts class immediately began to judge what type of warrior Su Ji-yu was out of professional instinct. Gun, knife, double daggers. This guy doesn't think that the more weapons he carries, the stronger he is, right? Weapons are more valuable than quantity. We have only practiced one weapon for 3 years. Does this guy think that the martial arts exam is just a weighted run? Forget it, an outsider without a martial arts teacher is good enough to know how to prepare weapons. Look at the quality of his weapon. It's just made of finely forged steel. Even if you can't get weapons made of the remains of the star aliens, at least get some black gold. Weapons made of this material will bend after chopping a beast. The comments of these martial arts students were naturally heard by Su Ji-yu and Ma Ming-ji. Originally, Ma Ming-ji was a little indignant, but after hearing about the weapons, he subconsciously looked over. When he confirmed that the weapon Su Ji-yu carried was really this kind of steel product that had long been eliminated by the weapons factory, he was stunned. Among the metals artificially made by humans, the hardest is black gold, which is also the common forging material for the weapons carried by these martial arts students. Brother, if you need money to buy weapons, tell me. I can still lend it to you. Sensing Ma Ming-ji's gaze, Su Ji-yu turned around and smiled calmly. It's okay, I have enough weapons for me. Hearing Su Ji-yu say this, Ma Ming-ji let out a long sigh. That's right, my brother's ability is not as good as mine. It's estimated that he can kill a few giant cats and man-eating dogs outside the examination room, and he can't use the good weapons he brought. My brother still knows himself. Ma Ming-ji, Su Ji-yu, you two sit next to me. Zheng Di stopped his classmates from making rude comments about outsiders and invited them to sit next to him. Su and Ma did not act pretentiously. They sat next to Zheng Di and accepted his kindness. Sit tight, we're leaving soon. A hoarse voice came from the driver's seat, followed by the sound of the engine, and the troop carrier immediately shook. There was naturally no comfort in the military vehicle. Every turn made the passengers shake, but as students who were targeted warriors, no one would complain about this. Old Su, look outside the window. Ma Ming-ji pointed out the window. Su Ji-yu looked over and saw that each troop carrier, including the one they were riding in, was equipped with 4 escort vehicles on the left, right, front and back. On the platform of each escort vehicle, there were 2 soldiers wearing matte black combat uniforms and holding guns. My father doesn't have this kind of face. Ma Ming-ji sighed. Looking at this scene, Su Ji-yu also felt that the protection of the college entrance examination for martial arts students was simply harsh. It's not all for us. Zheng Di on the side said. There are many big figures sitting in those escort vehicles. The mayor, the director of the education bureau, and the principals of major high schools are all among them. The results of the regional martial arts students are also related to the political achievements of these people, so they will come to the scene to watch. Some extremely outstanding performers will also be appreciated by them. According to convention, our class teacher will also be brought along, so that these people can ask for student information at any time. After Zheng Di finished speaking, a yearning look appeared on his face, and he obviously hoped that he would become a lucky person who caught the eyes of big figures. Su Ji-yu smiled and said nothing more. However, Zheng Di's words brought them closer. The military vehicle turned a corner and entered a tunnel with a very steep slope. As soon as they entered the tunnel, everyone felt a black screen in front of their eyes. This black screen lasted for half an hour. Half an hour later, the people in the car felt a dazzling skylight, and at the same time, there was a hoarse voice from the driver's seat. Get off the car. A group of people lined up to get off the car. After adapting to the dazzling light, the scene in front of them was shocking. This is an exaggeratedly large basin, and they are at the edge of the basin. In the center of the basin, an abandoned and dilapidated city is buried in it. Gray tilted high-rise buildings, streets rolled by magma, and shops corroded by strong acidic substances. You can even recognize the names of the shops. Su Ji-yu narrowed his eyes slightly when he saw this scene. In this abandoned city, he vaguely saw several flying beasts. Star aliens. It seems that this is the examination room. It's just like the rumors, our college entrance examination is here. Zhang Di murmured. Su Ji-yu looked strange, and just when he was about to ask something, a harsh broadcast suddenly came. In the Dark Ages, the alien races in the starry sky broke through the defense line of the solar system, and the human home planet Earth fell. Countless cities suffered cruel wars, and humans became food. What you see in front of you is one of the cities that fell in that era. This is only a small part of it, and more have been buried in the soil. On the radio, the soldier's unique and rigid voice introduced everyone to the information about the examination room. The majesty of the soldiers immediately silenced the noisy group of students who had just gotten off the bus. The Earth Federation and the managers of many other regions have erased this shameful history. But our Shaw region has not done so. We even have to pay a high fee to maintain these regions every year. This is not only used as an examination room for you, but also a wound to remind you not to forget the shame. The alien race in the starry sky has not been wiped out yet. After saying this, there was a whistling sound in the sky, and dozens of 10-meter-long military transport aircraft flew down from above the basin. There were waves of dull roars coming from those military aircraft. Obviously, what is contained here is the starry alien race captured by humans. Just by listening to the sound, Sugu could tell that the monster in the transport plane was much more powerful than what he had just seen at a glance in the fallen city. The soldier's voice sounded again. The test questions are the same as in previous years, and the score is survival time in the examination room plus the killing score of the alien race in the starry sky. The more powerful the alien race, the higher the score after killing it. There is no limit to the type of alien race, but the level will be set within the awakening level range, which is equivalent to a human warrior at the cultivation level. In addition to some of the alien races that have been put into the examination center, every hour we will release more powerful races into the examination room. We will prepare survival watches for you in advance. After confirming that you cannot survive in the city, press the button immediately, put down your watch. The watch will provide you with a 360-degree energy shield, and we will send people to rescue you immediately. Even so, we cannot guarantee that you are 100% safe. So the college entrance examination is very important, but you must also do what you can. Now I'll give you the last half hour to prepare. After receiving the survival watch, start the exam immediately. Immediately after the majestic military voice ended, officials from the Ministry of Education came forward and began to distribute survival watches. During this period, all the students immediately began to chatter about today's test questions. Did you see it? I just saw a community of red skulls in the fallen city. The basic monsters that have just begun to survive are so powerful. This year's exam questions are much more difficult than in previous years. The ghost face also came out. In previous years, wasn't it released after an hour? For this year's test, I guess I won't be able to kill the monsters that appear after the second hour. I'll try to survive the time. Sugu did not go to anyone to discuss this year's test questions. He set his sights on a fully armed white transport plane. Unlike other starry sky aliens who kept roaring in other transport planes, things on this transport plane were surprisingly quiet. But when looking at it, Sugu felt as if he had fallen into the deep sea and felt suffocated. There seemed to be something inside, looking directly at him through the thick steel skin of the transport plane. Just when he was about to walk in and take a look, an arrogant voice sounded from behind him. You've even been forced to retreat from those alien races in the starry sky that don't even have basic wisdom. How can you be considered warriors? Hurry up and take the literary test. That arrogant voice also attracted Sugu's attention. He followed the sound and looked over, only to see an extremely burly, bald man 2 meters tall, holding an exaggerated battle axe. Holy shit, this is a high school student. How many years has this brother been repeating the class? Ma Mingji on the side couldn't help complaining. Don't be ridiculous, this is Zhang Pojian from the number 1 martial arts high school in Hangzhou. He is an offensive heavy-armed warrior. With a B-level superpower that doubles the strength, and a battle axe made with Star Titan bone powder, he is our seed player in Hangzhou, and can hit the top 20 in the province. Zhang Dike said on the side. When he talked about Zhang Pojian's powers and weapons, the expression on his face showed great envy. B-level superpowers, coupled with weapons made from powerful star alien body parts. This combination is the standard for the strength of the provincial first-tier team. The students around them had angry faces after being sprayed by Zhang Pojian. After seeing who the speaker was, they were so aggrieved that they could only continue to be angry. To be able to subdue so many high-spirited martial arts students, it seems that we in Hangzhou have produced a good martial artist this year. The mayor, the director of education and the presidents of major universities hid in a blind spot high in the basin, overlooking the overall situation. After seeing the movement made by Zhang Pojian, the mayor nodded and praised. Zhang Pojian is the seed player of our school. If nothing else, he will be the top pick this year. The principal of Hengcheng Martial Arts No. 1 High School said proudly. Before the exam even started, he had already assigned his students the first place, and no other principals at the scene expressed any objection. Wen Wu is the first, Wu Wu is the second. As the best martial arts high school in Hangzhou, they have ranked first in the city in the college entrance examination for 6 consecutive years. This is a real achievement. I hope some of these kids can get a good place in the province this year, so that we can also take advantage of it. The mayor said calmly. At this time, Liu Yuanmin, the principal of Hengcheng No. 1 Middle School, was standing on the periphery of the mayor's circle. As the principal of a comprehensive high school, the martial arts test had nothing to do with him but not much. At this time, he was finding a remote location and making a phone call quietly. Teacher Zhou Li, what's going on with you? Didn't I tell you to tell the student named Sugu to just give up the exam and stop coming? Why did I just see him on the troop carrier in the martial arts exam class? Principal, this kid Sugu has been working hard for 3 years, we must give him a chance. You are the teacher of the liberal arts exam class, you don't understand how dangerous the martial arts exam is. I will settle the score with you after this matter is over. When the martial arts exam starts later, the students' scores will be entered into the website for ranking. After your disobedient student comes out of the exam room, take him to the hospital for a checkup. After saying that, he hung up the phone. Then he looked with some envy at the principals of the martial arts high school sitting with the mayor, talking and laughing. As the principal of a comprehensive high school, he understands how difficult it is for him to squeeze into this circle. According to the teacher of the martial arts examination class, this year our school's martial arts examination class has produced a good prospect who is no less powerful than the students in the key class of the martial arts high school. It seems to be called Zhang Di. I hope he can achieve good results and let me squeeze into the inside of that circle. At this moment, outside the examination room, the college entrance examination candidates are making final preparations for the martial arts test that will start in half an hour. The team is short of a heavy frontline. Is there anyone here? I am a swordsman and I need the help of a shooter to consume some long-range enemies. Let's form a team. The goal is to hit the key points. Don't let the weak come over and waste each other's time. The college entrance examination does not prohibit students from forming teams. After all, after becoming a warrior, it is inevitable to cooperate with others. Even the intelligence system of the college entrance examination will thoughtfully and directly assign kill credits to the team to allocate points and avoid conflicts. Sugu, I'm going to take the first step. My teammates are calling me. Zhang Di looked at Sugu and said politely. Su Jiyu glanced casually and saw Wu Yi standing aside waiting for Zhang Di. He nodded and said, "Good luck in the college entrance examination." Zhang Di did not leave immediately. He looked at Sugu and hesitated to speak. He just noticed that those who were recruiting teammates immediately took a detour after seeing Sugu. It's no wonder that a normal martial artist would spend 3 years in high school, taking into account their own abilities and refining a weapon, and then become either an assassin, a heavy weapon, or a warrior, and then start to pursue their own path to martial arts. And what about Sugu? With 3 weapons, all 3 of which were made of obsolete materials like fine steel, he looked like an amateur at first glance. Who would team up with such a layman in a college entrance examination related to life? How about I go talk to my team and you follow us to at least ensure your own safety? If you're lucky and you survive long enough, you might be able to attend a college of your choice. Sugu was stunned for a moment after hearing this. It took a moment to realize that Jungdi was talking to him. No need, if you do this, your teammates will probably have objections. Sugu declined with a smile, then pointed to Wu Yi beside him. Look at his face turning dark now, it's better to say goodbye. When Jungdi saw this, he stopped insisting and left. As soon as Jungdi walked out, Wu Yi surrounded him. Old Jung, what do you think, you still want to invite him? How can you cooperate with a waste on such a big thing as the college entrance examination? Jungdi sighed slightly and said, after all, he has been practicing martial arts very hard for 3 years, even harder than me, the class leader of the martial arts exam class. If his superpowers were not so bad, his grades would not be bad. I always think that people who work hard should not be let down. If you don't let him down, you will let us down. Let's go, let's go. The two of them left quickly and headed for their own team. Ma Mingji also shook his head helplessly and said, Brother Su, I will come out as soon as I go in. It's just a formality. I won't go with you. Su Ji-yu said happily, it's okay. See you at Shinkong Martial Arts University then. Ma Mingji smiled and said, okay. Shinkong Martial Arts University, the top martial arts university in the country, is a holy place in the hearts of high school martial artists. Ma Mingji's father Ma Kai donated a building and took his son in. It is difficult for ordinary people to get in. No one believes that Su Ji-yu can get in, but no one will undermine the confidence of a candidate at the last minute. My goal is Wonghai Martial Arts College. I will go to Tianwu Martial Arts University no matter what. Didu Martial Arts University, here I come. The candidates have all received survival watches distributed by the Ministry of Education. Now the countdown to the college entrance examination has only 10 seconds left. At this time, everyone shouted out their goals at the same time. After the countdown returned to 0, Zhang Pojian took the lead and used his power to multiply his ability to strengthen his legs. He was ejected like a cannonball. Then everyone, including Su Ji-yu, rushed to the fallen city. The crowd was like waves rushing to the beach. The small intelligent drone developed by the military began to rise and flew into the sky to have an overview of the situation. At the same time, a ranking list was projected on the roof of the highest building in the entire fallen city. This list records the scores of all candidates, and anyone can check it at any time. This fully open treatment prevents cheating. Those senior officials and principals hiding in the dark stared at the list. More than 2,000 examinees rushed into the fallen city frantically. After passing the crowd at the entrance, they were like tributaries of rivers flowing into the sea and were accommodated by the city. After Su Ji-yu entered the fallen city, countless shouts and killings were heard all around. They were all shouting that they had found prey and asked members of their team to come and hunt. Go to the main road of the city first, and then follow the main road all the way to the core of the city. Many star aliens have the habit of dividing territories. The more favorable the environment, the more likely it is to kill powerful star aliens. And the more powerful the alien, the higher the score you get after killing. Su Ji-yu had just adjusted his direction when he was blocked by a wolf-shaped creature with dark purple hair and steaming hot air on his body. Star aliens, spirit-eating wolves. Su Ji-yu, who ranked first in all subjects, immediately recalled the content of the compulsory course, Alien General Knowledge. This is a creature that looks almost the same as the native species of the Earth, the wolf. But it is much more difficult to deal with than a wolf. The teeth of the spirit-eating wolf are extremely sharp and can chew gold and stone. And it has a ferocious temperament. Once it identifies its prey, it will bite it tightly. And the spirit-eating wolf is extremely strong and has excellent endurance. When they meet their prey, they often fight wantonly to kill time. In addition, the spirit-eating wolf is relatively common, and the score given after killing it is not very high. So many candidates would rather take a detour when they meet it than fight to avoid wasting time. But Su Ji-yu obviously did not choose to retreat. He licked his lips and looked at the strange beast. This is the first time in his 2 lives, including before the crossing, that he has faced creatures that want to kill each other. Facing the upcoming battle and killing, Su Ji-yu was not afraid, but felt the hot blood in his chest boiling slightly. A woo! The spirit-eating wolf let out a low roar, its stomach was shriveled, and it looked at Su Ji-yu greedily, obviously treating him as a delicious meal delivered to the door. Then it suddenly pounced on Su Ji-yu, opened its bloody mouth and bit towards his calf. But Su Ji-yu did not dodge, just stood there. The soul-eating wolf was about to close its mouth, and the canine's face showed human excitement. It seemed that it was a frightened human, and today it could have a good meal. When it closed its mouth, it found that it had bitten nothing, and the human was gone. Then the soul-eating wolf felt a strong force, hitting its waist directly. Su Ji-yu appeared above it, and poured his elbow down hard, reinstalling the sea-level combat skill, 1000 Jin weight. The lumbar vertebrae of the soul-eating wolf were directly broken in half, and it died. Sure enough, what the book said is right. The lowest temperature and most vulnerable part of the soul-eating wolf's body is the waist. Su Ji-yu said lightly. Kill the alien spirit-eating wolf of the starry sky, and the college entrance examination score +3. The candidate Su Gu's current score is 8 points, ranking 1823rd. The candidate ranked first now is Zhang Pojian, with 76 points. A reminder sound came from the survival watch. It was related to the college entrance examination, but Su Ji-yu seemed to be oblivious to it at the moment. At this moment, he was immersed in the shock brought to him by another thing. Complete a breath sea-level heavy armor combat skills. 1000 Jin pendant experience +15, current combat skill proficiency is perfect mastery. Complete a breath sea-level heavy armor combat skills. 1000 Jin pendant experience +30, current combat skill proficiency is perfect mastery. Sea-level heavy armor combat skills. 1000 Jin pendant proficiency has been improved. Current combat skill proficiency is mastered. After the combat skill is fully mastered, the growth rate slows down noticeably. I thought I would have to wait until after college to break through the combat skill proficiency again. Su Ji-yu murmured. Sure enough, just as I guessed when I was practicing in the martial arts hall, I now have a clear understanding of various combat skills, but the problem is how to use them in actual combat. Only by using these in actual combat can I break my bottleneck and accelerate the growth of proficiency. I have an epiphany now. Su Ji-yu felt the inspiration, experience, and knowledge of the combat skill of Kyeonjinju constantly increasing in his mind. The expression on his face gradually became excited. It's better to kill a star beast that really wants to kill you than to chop 10,000 human steaks in a martial arts hall. You can improve yourself more. But now we are in a civilized society and a society ruled by law. As a high school student, where can I get the opportunity to fight monsters for my life? Look at it this way. This college entrance examination is not only an opportunity to change my own destiny, but also a great opportunity. As a martial arts fanatic, Su Ji-yu even put the college entrance examination behind him at this moment. He only wants to do one thing now. Fight monsters and level up. Pulling out the long knife from his waist, he ran madly on the main road like a tiger out of the cage. Such intense exercise naturally attracted the attention of the star aliens stationed on both sides of the road. But as soon as they appeared, they were cut off by the flying knife light. At the same time, the reminder sound on Su Gu's survival watch kept ringing. Kill the giant cat of the starry sky alien race, and the college entrance examination score will be +1. Kill the witch flower monster of the starry sky alien race, and the college entrance examination score will be +7. Kill the corpse transformed evil dog of the starry sky alien race, and the college entrance examination score will be +3. While he was constantly killing aliens in the starry sky, his ranking was also rising rapidly. He rose rapidly from outside the 1500th place to the top 900 now. It's not that simple. It's not that simple to just throw a few basic professional skills and kill a few monsters to speed up the improvement of combat proficiency. The improvement in scores is certainly gratifying, but at this moment Su Ji-yu is still thinking about the problems brought by his own abilities. How can I improve combat proficiency faster? Let's put away the long sword and try it first. Su Ji-yu thought for a moment and put the long sword back into the sheath. Now he has mastered the A-level combat skill Lion Roar 10,000 Tiger Sword. The destructive power of the sword in his hands is much stronger than other weapons. With this thing in hand, many small monsters are gone with a casual chop. It's really too safe. It's really difficult to improve if you always stay in your comfort zone. Wait a few hours, when the military starts to release more powerful aliens into the fallen city, then use this thing. Before that, use the dagger to defend against the enemy. This is exciting enough. After Su Ji-yu made the decision, he immediately pulled out the dagger from his waist, one in front and one in the back, and began to look for the next wave of enemies. At this moment, a group of floating, red human skulls flashed before his eyes. These skulls were flying in the air, constantly spewing green gas. Sugu's eyes lit up and he quickly rushed towards those monsters. This is a group of red skeletons, and the red skeletons may be one of the aliens with the highest score after killing in the early stage of the college entrance examination. Chapter 11. In a deserted industrial area, 2 men and 1 woman were shuttled through it at high speed. Hurry up. When I was investigating, the group of red skeletons I discovered was not far away. Red Skull is the alien race with the highest kill score within 1 hour of the college entrance examination. If the 3 of us work together to kill this group, we will be far ahead of others. The leader, Jung-di, said excitedly to his companions behind. This team is the team that Jung-di invited Sugu to follow them before the college entrance examination started to try to survive. Do you think we can kill the red skeletons with just us? Wu Yi said hesitantly. Not only can those things fly, but their shells are very strong. The most important thing is that the corrosive gas they spit out during flight is so disgusting. So let's team up with Xiao Chao. Jung-di smiled and looked at the only girl among the 3. She was holding a laser gun and remained silent. With Xiao Chao, a long-range warrior here, we just need to protect her and let her use long-range means to crack the shell of that thing. The 3 of them were moving quickly while arranging tactics verbally. Someone got there first. Xiao Chao, who has a C-level eagle eye, noticed something strange and suddenly said. How many people are there in the other party? There are so many red skeletons that the 3 of us can't eat. We can consider cooperating with the other party. Jung-di, who was positioned by the assassin, acted as a scout and rushed over first, asking casually. There is only 1 person on the other side. Xiao Chao replied. It's Sugu. Jung-di was stunned for a moment when he saw the figure clearly. It's this kid again. Wu Yi frowned and said, he was surrounded by a group of red skulls. This kid's college entrance examination is over. At this moment, Sugu was outside an abandoned factory, surrounded by more than 20 red skeletons. Those floating red skulls, half as tall as a man, let out weird laughter, floating up and down in the air, spitting out green gas from their mouths. The green gas is highly corrosive. Once it touches the skin, it will cause unbearable pain and make it impossible to fight. Now Sugu is surrounded by green gas and has no way out. This is a situation that no candidate wants to face, which is why Wu Yi is so sure that his college entrance examination is over. Jung-di was suddenly stunned for a moment, then frowned and said anxiously. What is Sugu doing? Hurry up and press the survival watch. At this moment, Sugu's eyes were filled with fighting spirit. He pulled out the dagger, danced it casually, and then looked at the red skull closest to him. He didn't expect that his behavior would render the 3 people watching speechless. Does he know the characteristics of the red skull? The gases surrounding him are highly corrosive. No matter how fast the assassin is, he will definitely be injured once he passes through those green gas areas. Furthermore, the body of the red skull is extremely strong. It is difficult for an assassin to kill him with 1 strike. Faced with the siege of so many red skeletons, he will definitely get into a fight. What on earth did he think when he chose a dagger as a weapon? Jung-di complained. As a person determined to follow the path of an assassin, he is very aware of the advantages and disadvantages of this martial arts direction. It is precisely because of this that he chose to find someone to form a team. Xiao Chao, let's find a way to save his life later. Saving other people's lives will also get extra points. Wu Yi said calmly. Xiao Chao also nodded, took out the laser gun, and prepared to kill the red skeleton at the critical moment. Sugu calmly ran towards the red skull he was staring at, twirling and waving the dagger in the air. There are a lot of unnecessary movements. Jung Di complained in his heart, but the next moment, his eyes widened. Sugu's figure suddenly disappeared, and then suddenly appeared 1 meter away from the red skull, and then his right arm pierced the skull's eye socket at a speed that was invisible to the human eye. Snapped. After the sound of glass breaking, the red skull seemed to have lost all power. The thick green fog around it disappeared and fell to the ground. He shattered the power core of Red Skull. Xiao Chao said with his mouth wide open. The red skull can float in the air and spit out corrosive gases because of the power core hidden in its head. This thing is also its heart. If it breaks, it means the end of life. Is it a coincidence? He must be very lucky. Wu Yi murmured. The power core is only as big as a fingernail, and the core position of each red skeleton is not fixed. It can even adjust its position at will and at any time. It is difficult for anyone to hit it accurately with one blow. This is also the reason why the three of them want to build tactics with the long-range warrior Xiao Chao as the core. But they soon learned this was no coincidence. After Sugu killed one, he immediately rushed towards the other red skeleton, and still shattered the power core with one blow. However, this time the dagger was inserted from the direction of the mandible. The next one is from the ear piercing, the next one is from the mouth. Sugu's dagger only shoots once at a time, but each blow will definitely take away the life of a red skeleton. The mouths of Jung Di, Wu Yi, and Xiao Chao are wide open. Is this really a group of red skulls that they may not be able to defeat even if they work together? Why does it feel like Sugu killing these things is like strolling in his own back garden? Could it be that he, like me, has the ability to strengthen his eyesight? Xiao Chao murmured. His ability just speeds up his learning and concentration. Jung Di, who was from the same school, said with difficulty, it seems that he just used the basic ability of an assassin, which is to locate by sound. Locate by sound. You mean, he can identify the position by relying on the subtle sound produced by the floating power core of the size of a fingernail. How is this possible? Wu Yi said in a lost voice. And the laughter of the red skeleton group is deliberately made to avoid this situation. Xiao Chao's voice was also a little dry. Jung Di shook his head bitterly. No matter how unbelievable it was, this was the only possibility. Soon, the three people found something even more incredible. Those red skeletons were hiding in the green corrosive fog, but every time Su Jiyu attacked, he did not cause any damage to himself. Did you make a mistake about Sugu's ability? He actually has a defensive ability like petrified skin, Wu Yi said with a frown. Jung Di did not speak. He had already seen how Su Jiyu did it, but as an assassin, he was deeply impressed by the other party's skills and had no time to pay attention to Wu Yi. Look carefully at the boy named Su Jiyu. Every time before he attacks, he will use his two daggers to combine with the current wind direction and make some unnecessary movements. Xiao Chao said softly. Wu Yi thought for a while, widened her eyes and said in disbelief. You mean, Su Jiyu is deliberately disturbing the airflow, tearing open the hole in the corrosive mist, and creating an opportunity for himself to attack. Is this really a fighting skill that our peers can master? Jung Di said softly. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I would think it is completely impossible. In terms of fighting skills alone, Su Jiyu has surpassed my teacher. No matter how clever Su Jiyu is in using the airflow, this kind of behavior of taking millet from the fire has only one chance. As long as that attack does not penetrate the power core of the red skull, Sugu's hand will be corroded by strong acid. If you don't attack, it's fine. Once you attack, it's either you or I. This is called an assassin. At this moment, Jung Di had a strong desire to fight. After the college entrance examination, he would find Su Jiyu to learn from him no matter what. Even if he loses, fighting with such an assassin master will definitely benefit him a lot. Look, those red skeletons are actively besieging Su Jiyu, Xiao Chao said. After experiencing continuous casualties, those red skeletons finally realized the strength of the opponent they were facing, and began to rush towards Su Jiyu at the same time. Such a scene made the three people feel heartbroken. Facing the siege, Su Jiyu couldn't continue to use his magical skills. Su Jiyu seemed to have really run out of tricks, standing there stupidly, not knowing what he was doing. Xiao Chao picked up the laser gun in her hand, and she would shoot and save people immediately if there was anything wrong. When more than a dozen red skeletons rushed towards him, Su Ji-yu suddenly laughed. It's the same as I thought. Only this kind of battle that makes me a little stressed can promote my own breakthrough. At this moment, a new voice sounded in his mind. Complete one breath sea-level combat skill wind dance / experience plus 200, current combat skill proficiency is perfect mastery. Complete one breath sea-level combat skill wind dance / experience plus 200, current combat skill proficiency is perfect mastery. Sea-level heavy armor combat skill, wind dance / proficiency has been improved. Current combat skill proficiency is mastery. At this moment, Su Ji-yu lowered his center of gravity, closed his eyes, and the whole person spun on the spot like a tornado. The wind tore through the thick acid mist. The dagger moved up and down with his arm, either stabbing or slashing, and every time he made a move, he ended a red skeleton. 20 red skeletons were instantly ended by him. What kind of combat skill is this? There is absolutely no school in Arhangzhou that has included such an assassin combat skill. Wu Yi swallowed a mouthful of saliva. If there is such an effective fighting skill, why didn't he use it just now? Did he just realize it in the battle? Xiao Chao murmured to himself. Zhang Di's face darkened, and then he said, "This is a C-level fighting skill, Feng Wuzan, the assassin fighting skill of our school." The other two widened their eyes and looked at Zhang Di in disbelief. They have seen Feng Wuzan before. Isn't the power of Feng Wuzan that the strange wind sound is emitted when the blade is swung to confuse the opponent? The effect is not like this. He may have mastered this fighting skill, Zhang Di said with difficulty. The teacher who taught him fighting skills is just so in terms of proficiency. In terms of proficiency in this fighting skill alone, Su Ji-yu has reached the level of a school teacher. He can already go to school and teach fighting skills to martial arts students. So, Su Ji-yu is the hidden boss in the school. Zhang Di felt a little bitter in his heart, and he silently gave up the plan to challenge Su Ji-yu. The gap in strength is too big. If he fights against him, he will be defeated in seconds without learning anything. They are students of the same grade, but he is not even qualified to challenge him. Xiao Chao and Wu Yi widened their eyes. Born in the key class of martial arts high school, they are self-proclaimed elites, but their average proficiency in combat skills is only slightly accomplished. The highest level of the combat skills they specialize in is perfect mastery. And Su Ji-yu used an offensive combat skill casually, which actually opened up a realm for them. You two know such a powerful person, why don't you invite him to our team? Xiao Chao said resentfully. This kind of big guy, we follow him to pick up leaks, maybe our scores can be much higher. I invited him, but seeing that Wu Yi was very opposed, the big guy turned her down. Zhang Di looked at Wu Yi, who was confused. What does it have to do with me? Su Ji-yu is a superpower waste, isn't he from the same school as him, didn't you tell me? And if this kid didn't say it, who would know that this is a big guy? He is too good at acting and pretending. It would be fine if he didn't say it, but he still brought a gun and a knife to confuse people during the college entrance examination. And in order to pretend, he didn't use weapons made of black gold, but used fine steel. If we hadn't happened to run into him today, we would still be in the dark. Is this the big guy's way of pretending to be a pig and eating a tiger? But Wu Yi was too lazy to explain anything. The big guy has too many routines, and my heart is so tired. I was so heartbroken when I didn't hug the big guy's thick legs. After killing the monster, Su Ji-yu left the venue immediately. Although he sensed that he was being stared at from other directions while fighting. But he didn't expect that the scene of his battle would have such a big impact on those people. But even if he knew, he wouldn't care. Isn't it to become famous to participate in the martial arts exam? At this moment, Su Ji-yu felt the assassin's combat skills that he had newly realized in the battle, and the whole person was in an excited state. Sure enough, as I guessed, when facing the enemy, it is more conducive to break through to give yourself some pressure. Su Ji-yu held the two daggers in his hands and continued to look for new enemies according to his own ideas. But he didn't know that the fact that he killed the alien race efficiently and the score rose rapidly had attracted the attention of teachers from outside. Sugu's class teacher, Teacher Zhou Li, stood at the rescue exit of the sunken city, looking at the college entrance examination rankings on her mobile phone in a daze. After receiving the principal's call request, she immediately began to pay attention to Sugu's movements. She needs to find Sugu's name on the college entrance examination ranking list. Once the survival time score on the college entrance examination ranking list stops rising, it proves that the student has left the examination room. She could find Sugu immediately, check whether he was injured, and find a way to take him to the hospital. Then she discovered a very serious problem. She could not find the location of Sugu's name. It stands to reason that if a liberal arts candidate like Sugu takes the martial arts exam, he can be seen at the bottom of the list at a casual glance. But Jolie was in a daze, counting from the last to the last one, and never saw Sugu appear anywhere. He had no choice but to seek help from soldiers on duty. "You are talking about that Sugu. I just noticed this name. It has risen very quickly. It should be in the top 200 now." Jolie felt stupid when she heard this. The first 200. This is the ranking that a liberal arts candidate should appear in when taking the martial arts exam. Sugu, Hangchung number 1 middle school, ranked 187th with 345 points. This time she was counting, and after finally finding the location of her student's name, she kept checking whether the photo was of her and whether there were any errors in the system. Then I kept looking at the ranking in a daze. If I were to tell others that among the top 200 in the city for this year's martial arts exam, there was an arts candidate, everyone would probably think I was crazy. Jolie murmured to herself. "Teacher Jolie, I finally found you." A short and fat figure ran over panting. It was Momingji, who had just returned from a walk in the sunken city. The expression on his face was anxious at the moment. On the college entrance examination ranking list, he almost went blind looking for all the names from 1000 to 2000, but he didn't see Sugu. Later, he took a chance and searched for 300 to 1000, but couldn't find it. There was no sign of his good brother in the rescue area. Now he was really anxious, so he ran to find the head teacher, who usually took a detour to meet him. "Teacher Joe, have you seen Sugu? Has Sugu come out?" Jolie looked at Momingji and knew at a glance what this boy was worried about and what he had been through. Thinking about the scene when I just looked through the names of more than 2,000 people and my eyes almost rolled, I felt quite sympathetic when looking at the other party. "Teacher, what are you talking about? What happened to Sugu?" Momingji looked at his old classmate's haggard face, and his heart skipped a beat. He stepped forward and asked, almost shaking the teacher's shoulder. Jolie shook her head and said, "No, he is fine. And much better than we imagined." As she spoke, she took out her mobile phone and pointed at Sugu's ranking. Momingji's squinting eyes gradually widened, so wide that you could see the eyeballs and the whites of his eyes. "Top 200 in the city. If we can maintain this ranking, we will definitely be able to focus on it." Jolie nodded, with the same happy expression on her face. Watching her students become successful is the happiest thing for her as a teacher. Although she is a teacher who teaches the literary test, she is now in the martial arts examination room, and her style of painting is a bit wrong. "Jolie, why are you still here? Didn't I ask you to take the disobedient student who insists on taking the martial arts exam to the hospital for examination first?" Lu Yuanmin, the principal of Hangchung number 1 middle school, came over and looked at Zhou Ladao with a face on his face. He was just talking to Sun Given, the head teacher of the martial arts examination class, about the status of this year's martial arts examination, and happened to see Jolie holding her mobile phone with a dull look on her face. "Your students are in such danger now, why are you still playing with your phone with a stupid look on your face? So irresponsible. Although, but, my student is still taking exams and he hasn't come out yet." Jolie looked at Lu Yuanmin and said hesitantly. Lu Yuanmin was stunned for a moment, and then his serious face turned into a smile. Not bad, this student is good." Once he confirmed the student's safety, he lost interest in the student named Sugu, who was in the literature examination class. Then he continued to ask the head teacher of the martial arts examination class about the martial arts examination situation in the school. He looked at Teacher Sun Given and said, "Teacher Sun, please continue to tell me about the situation of our school this year." The martial arts teacher named Sun Given pushed up his glasses and glanced at Jolie impatiently. Although there is no explicit regulation, due to the transcendent status of martial arts masters, a chain of contempt exists in education. Not only do those who take the martial arts exam look down upon those who take the liberal arts exam, the teachers who teach the martial arts exam have a higher status than those who teach the liberal arts exam. Teacher's son, who has a higher eye than his own, feels that his precious time has been wasted by this teacher named Zhou Li. But his face remained calm as he said to Lu Yuanmin, "Most of the students under my command this year can survive to the stage of being exposed to the awakening level aliens, and the strongest student among them, Zheng Di, his strength has far exceeded the level of our comprehensive high school." Then, the expression on Sun Given's face became extremely proud. "To be honest with the principal, this is already my direct disciple and my favorite student. I estimate that his level will eventually rank among the top 300 in the city. If with enough luck, he can reach the top 200 in the city. His current ranking is 378, which is currently the highest in our school." After hearing this, Lu Yuanming nodded with satisfaction. This ranking is indeed much higher than in previous years. That, teacher son, Principal Lu, in fact, our school has already had someone enter the top 200 in the city. Zhou Li couldn't help but interrupt the conversation between the two people. When she spoke, the two people who were still discussing were stunned. Sun Given immediately frowned and said impatiently, "This is impossible. I have coached the top martial arts students in our school. I know their level very well. Even if they perform exceptionally well, they can't achieve such a high score. Even the strongest Zhang Di would find it very difficult to enter the top 200, and other students with lower levels have even less possibility. All the students in the city are here. There are too many people. I guess you were dazzled when you looked at the rankings, and you misread the school where the students are from." After speaking, he glanced to the side. As a teacher of the martial arts class, he really didn't want to bother with the liberal arts class. It feels like they are not on the same path, there is nothing to say. After hearing this, Zhou Li smiled and said, "Teacher son, you don't know that student is very normal. He is a student I taught in our liberal arts class, and he studied for the martial arts exam on his own. He is the Su Ji Yu that the principal just mentioned." Then Zhou Li took out Su Gu's exam ranking and handed it over, with pride written all over her face. Sun Given and Lu Yuanmin looked at Zhou Li's phone and Su Gu's ranking, and stayed there for 3 seconds. Then they took out their own phones at the same time and started to look through the rankings. After confirming for a long time that the school name in front of Su Gu's name was Hangzhou No. 1 Middle School, the two looked dazed. After a while, Principal Lu looked at the two teachers beside him in surprise. This year, the first place in the martial arts exam of Hangzhou No. 1 Middle School is a literary candidate. Sun Given stood there for a long time without saying anything, but his face became redder and redder. After a while, he seemed to squeeze out a paragraph from his teeth. "It's not certain yet, the college entrance examination is not over yet. It's almost an hour, and we will start to deploy a large number of mid-level awakening star aliens. The difficulty of the exam will increase dramatically by then, and killing an alien can get at least 15 points. Many people are waiting to exert their strength at this stage, and they can also rush up." Hearing the name of the mid-level awakening alien, Zhou Li's expression became a little worried. She has seen the power of the mid-level awakening aliens in various film and television materials, and knows that kind of power is no longer something that a single human can resist, but she is not sure about Su Gu's strength. Somewhat worried about Su Gu's safety. Ahem. Ma Mingji, who had been standing aside and listening silently, suddenly coughed, and then said to the head teacher of the martial arts class with a sincere face, "Teacher son, I feel that what you said is very familiar. I feel that I should have heard it many times." Teacher Sun was stunned for a moment, and then carefully identified the fat boy Ma Mingji and said, "You are wrong. This is the first time I see you." Ma Mingji smiled and shook his head. "That's not what I meant. I heard what I said many times, not what you said." The others were slightly stunned after hearing this. Ma Mingji continued, "In the past, many of our classmates in the liberal arts exam class would find Brother Su and say similar things. I just didn't perform well this time. You just had better luck than me and encountered questions that you could do. You take the martial arts exam every day, so you definitely don't have time to review. I will definitely do better than you in this exam next time. don't be complacent, I don't believe you can still do better than me after the second year of high school. Then those scum were suppressed by Brother Su for 3 whole years. He was the first in the liberal arts exam for 3 years without a break. Ma Mingji looked at Sun Given naively and said, "You look like those classmates who called me a clown for 3 years." After hearing this, Jolie covered her slightly raised mouth and exhaled a breath of turbid air from her nostrils. Thinking of the shock that Su Ji-yu had given her, her expression on her face was much more relaxed. She knew what Ma Mingji was talking about too well. As a class teacher, she was also slapped in the face by Su Ji-yu with grades during those 3 years. Now, seeing Sun Given's face completely reddened by his students, she was in a good mood. Martial arts exams are different from literary exams. Sun Given argued loudly with Ma Mingji. Principal Liu Yuanmin, who was watching the debate between teachers and students, was in a good mood. No matter what, his Hangzhou No. 1 middle school had a remarkable performance in the martial arts exam this year, so he was naturally happy. I don't know if this student named Su Ji-yu can make it into the top 100 in the city. If a student from a comprehensive high school makes it into the top 100, it will definitely attract the attention of the mayor. Maybe I can also follow this student and get some benefits. Liu Yuanmin smiled. Nearly all the prey that can make me want to fight have been killed. Sugu calmly walked around the urban area of the fallen city and said calmly. It has been 5 minutes since he found the alien race in the starry sky here. It is estimated that the aliens have been killed by the students. The examiners waiting outside should start to send more powerful aliens to the fallen city. Brother, why are you still hanging out here? Just when Sugu was bored, a deep bass came from the trash cans on both sides of the sidewalk. Su Gusin looked around and saw that the lid of the black trash can was opened from the inside, and a dirty head popped out of it. Sugu looked at the human head growing out of the trash can, and for a moment he didn't know what expression to put on his face. Is this some new type of alien race in the stars? Classmate, what kind of cosplay are you doing? Sugu looked at each other, his mind filled with questions. At this moment, the other party also had doubts written all over his face. Aren't you going to hide? Sugu asked in confusion. Hide? What are you hiding from? It's going to be an hour soon, and the aliens who have awakened to the intermediate level are about to enter. Didn't your teacher tell you to hide at this time? So, why should I hide? The head sticking out of the trash can looked at Sugu as if looking at an idiot. Are you stupid? The quality of the weapons you are holding is so poor. It can be understood at a glance that you are lucky not to have met a powerful alien race, so you can survive until now. Then you should cherish this hard-earned luck now. The aliens who will enter the field next will be more powerful. It is impossible for the top 300 people in the city to kill them alone. That's why I just kindly reminded you to hide and survive as long as you can. You must know that survival time is also considered as a test score. As long as you find the perfect hiding place, you can get a lot of test scores. After hearing this, Sugu looked at the man hiding in the trash can and his face twitched. Sure enough, today's students are going crazy for the college entrance examination. So hiding in the trash can is your survival strategy. After hearing Sugu's words, the man thought he was praising him. He looked proud and said proudly, "Yes, the rotten garbage in this bucket can perfectly mask the smell of my body. Those star aliens with a keen sense of smell will not be able to detect me by smell." And look, the man escaped into the bucket again, and then a pair of eyes appeared on the non-recyclable garbage sign on the trash can. I also put a lot of effort into modifying the barrel so that I can observe the surrounding situation more easily. If I find danger, I can immediately carry the barrel and run away. As he spoke, the trash can moved upwards, with 2 legs extending from the bottom of the bucket. Sugu's expression was a little complicated. He was a talented person. What's your name, classmate? Zheng Yeshan. My name is Sugu. After Zheng Yeshan introduced his Goming suit, he suddenly looked at Sugu warily. I'm warning you, in the college entrance examination, candidates are strictly prohibited from attacking candidates. If you find someone who needs to be dealt with strictly, don't even think about attacking me. Don't worry, it won't happen. Sugu shook his head and prepared to go to a higher ground to look for monsters. And the man suddenly said, "Brother, wait a minute, help me put the lid on." Sugu. Not long after Su Ji-yu left, A red, huge scorpion-shaped alien slowly crawled towards Zhengyi Mountain. Its tail spines and two iron pincers were red and black, flashing with a deadly light. What's going on? It's actually a blood scorpion demon. Zheng Yeshan, who was in the trash can, pressed his hands on his survival watch with an extremely uncomfortable expression on his face. The eyes of this alien race in the starry sky can be used as thermal imaging. He was in the trash can, there was no way to hide, he must have been discovered. Let's grab the bucket and run away first. If it doesn't work, press the survival watch immediately. Just when Zheng Yeshan was about to run away with the bucket, the blood scorpion demon suddenly stopped and grinned in the other direction. Zheng Yeshan also looked in that direction, and then he was stunned. Sugu, why are you still here? Hurry up and take a walk. This one is considered powerful even among the mid-level ones. Little Kurami like our two little ones can't even do it together. But Sugu didn't pay attention to the other party at this moment. He looked serious and walked forward slowly with a pair of daggers. Although he was walking very slowly, he could vaguely see the afterimage behind him. His body suddenly disappeared, and then appeared behind the blood scorpion demon. The pincers, head, body, and poisonous tail of the blood scorpion demon were divided into 4 sections in an instant. Zheng Yeshan opened his mouth wide. It turned out that he was a master. The clown turned out to be myself. Then he seemed to remember something, and shouted to Su Guyuan's retreating back, "Thank you, master, I can gain survival points for a while again." Fine. Sugu did not continue the pleasantries. Now that the mid-level aliens have begun to be released, he is going to kill monsters. Kill the mid-level alien blood scorpion demon, and your college entrance examination score will be +21. Kill the mid-level alien spirit-eating wolf, and your college entrance examination score will be +17. Kill the mid-level alien wild beast, and your college entrance examination score will be +20. With Sugu's terrifying killing efficiency, his ranking of more than 200 has improved again. Outside the examination room, many candidates had finished their exams and were rescued from the examination room because of the deployment of the mid-level alien race. But almost no one chose to leave immediately. They all chose to stay where they were and check the position of their classmates on the ranking list. That Zhang Pojian is really fierce. He has been occupying the first place since entering the examination room and has never come down. After all, this is the #1 seed of Hangzhou City Martial Arts No. 1 high school this year. It is definitely strong. Didn't you see that the top 20 in our city are all occupied by this school? The students of other martial arts high schools are all concentrated in the 20th to 100th place. The martial arts No. 1 high school is really strong. Just when those students were chattering about the students of various schools on the ranking list, someone found Sugu's name. Look, there is a student from a comprehensive high school. His upward momentum is so strong, he is about to rush into the top 100 in the city. A comprehensive high school martial arts exam entered the top 100. You must have seen the wrong school next to that person. No, that person is Su Ji-yu, from Hangzhou No. 1 Middle School. I just saw him jump from 137th to 128th. How is it possible? It's true, it's too strong. Su Ji-yu. I haven't heard of this name, he is a dark horse. Does anyone know someone from Hangzhou No. 1 Middle School? Go ask around. As a comprehensive high school, the strength of the students in their martial arts exam class at Hangzhou No. 1 Middle School is a cut above those students from martial arts high schools. Now many people have come out, and those who were looking for information easily found the gathering place of Hangzhou No. 1 Middle School candidates. After learning about the purpose of these people's visit, these people were also very confused. Someone from our school is about to enter the top 100. Class leader Zheng Di is so fierce today. Ah, not Zheng Di, but Su Ji-yu. Brother, you must be kidding, this is the weirdo in our school. He actually entered the top 100. Are you kidding me? The students of Hangzhou No. 1 Middle School took out their mobile phones to check the rankings, and after confirming Sugu's position, the expressions on their faces were all full of dullness. That student in the liberal arts class, holding a fine steel weapon, is now in the top 100 in the city and the first in their school. Why is this world so absurd? Weird. Is this the nickname you gave him? And those students who came to asked with a puzzled look. Ma Mingji, who was standing aside, finally couldn't help it at this moment, and said proudly, because Suji Yu is in our liberal arts class, he didn't study martial arts for 3 years. How is this possible? If the liberal arts class can enter the top 100, we martial arts students will have no life. As soon as Ma Mingji said this, he was immediately questioned. But after this matter was confirmed by many parties, the expressions on their faces became dull in an instant. Ma Mingji was secretly happy when he saw these people. Brother Su, since you can't come back now, these brothers will pretend for you first. At this moment in the teacher's rest area, Sun Given looked at the rapidly rising ranking of Su Ji Yu on the leaderboard, and his face was slightly stiff. Even if he was stubborn, he couldn't say that Zheng Di could not surpass Su Ji Yu. His beloved disciple Zheng Di was still hovering in the 200th place. This year, the first place in the martial arts exam of Hangzhou No. 1 middle school could only be Su Ji Yu. Although his beloved disciple had successfully completed the goal set before the college entrance examination, Sun Given couldn't be happy. Looking at Su Gu's ranking, the more he looked, the more upset he became, so he simply turned off his phone. Sun Given sighed deeply. How could such a literary exam class produce such a strong martial arts exam monster? He looked at teacher Zhou Li not far away, with a complicated expression. Could it be that the problem was with her? Sun Given rarely came to the teacher of the literature exam and said to her, "Excuse me, what subject do you teach?" Zhou Li said, "History." Sun Given gritted his teeth and said, "Teacher Zhou, if you have a class next semester, can I go to audit it?" Although it was an ordinary history class, Sun Given always felt that there was some secret hidden in it, otherwise how could he teach a student like Su Ji Yu? Zhou Li immediately saw why Sun Given came, and said with a strange look, "In fact, Su Ji Yu rarely came to my class in the past 3 years." Sun Given was stunned. "Why? I promised him that as long as he could get the first place in the whole school, he could prepare for the martial arts exam during my class time. He took the first place in the whole school for 3 years." Sun Given was speechless. Find the enemy, fight, and kill the enemy. After the mid-level awakening alien race entered the field. Finally, after using a dagger to cut a mid-level iron stone wolf into meat paste, Su Ji Yu heard the voice he had longed for. Sea-level assassin step, flash step, proficiency has been improved. Current combat skill proficiency is mastered. In the VIP viewing room where the mayor, principals, and examiners are. There are 11 projection screens on the white walls. 10 of them are live broadcasts of the top 10 students in the exam room. Another projection screen shows the top 100 students in the exam room. Now the principals of this city are standing behind the mayor, staring at the projection image of the first place Zhang Pojian. Watching him cleanly and neatly solve a star alien, they exclaimed in admiration. The middle-level star alien King Kong Terror Bear was killed by Zhang Pojian with an axe. He is worthy of the B-level supernatural power multiplication. And as a heavy armor, his skills are also delicate enough, not just reckless. It is estimated that he will be the first place in our city this year, and there will be no other changes. Mayor Liu Chengwei looked at Zhang Pojian's performance in the projection and nodded secretly. Getting the first place in the city is nothing to him. There will be someone who will take this position every year. What is important is the ranking in the province. Only when the students in his city can enter the top 30 in the province, can it be considered that the city under his jurisdiction has achieved results. This Zhang Pojian is conservatively estimated to be in the top 15 in the province, and can even challenge the top 10 in the province. It's a pity that the other 9 members of our city are somewhat mediocre compared to Zhang Pojian. Mayor Liu said in his heart. In the viewing room, the principals of those comprehensive high schools have begun to leave one after another. The mid-level star alien race joined the examination room, causing the students of their schools to withdraw from the examination room one after another. For many schools, this year's college entrance examination has ended. It has lost the meaning for the principals to stay here, so they simply return to the students. "Old Liu, why are you still here? Didn't you leave at this time in previous years?" The principal of the second middle school, a brother school of Hangzhou No. 1 middle school, patted Liu Yuanming on the shoulder and asked in a low voice. "My students are very powerful this year. Liu Yuanmin looked at the projection screen and saw that Su Jiyu had already entered the top 100 rankings, and he couldn't close his mouth with a smile. Students from a comprehensive school can achieve such results surrounded by a group of martial arts schools. This has never happened since the establishment of martial arts high schools, which only focus on martial arts practice in 3 years. He has decided that in the next 5 years, no, 10 years, the school's recruitment promotion website will have posters with Su Gu's name. You look so happy. Is it the student named Zhang Di you mentioned to me last time? The principal of the second middle school curled his lips and said with some jealousy. He can survive for so long, and he is estimated to be in the top 200. It's really good. Your school has a genius. Zhang Di, Liu Yuanmin thought for a while before remembering who the other party was talking about, and then smiled and shook his head. Zhang Di's results are not bad, but he can only rank second in our school this year. Our school has a student who has entered the top 100 this year. Top 100? Are you kidding? We are a comprehensive high school. Those good martial arts seedlings have long been selected by martial arts high schools. The principal of the second middle school widened his eyes and said in disbelief. His voice was so loud that the principals of the comprehensive high school who were just about to leave heard it, and they all widened their eyes in disbelief. The top 100 students of the comprehensive high school. How is this possible? Many people left Zhang Pojian's live projection and began to focus on the rankings on the leaderboard. It really exists. Hangzhou No. 1 Middle School, Su Jiyu, 634 points 100th. How come I have never heard of the name of this student Su Jiyu? I should have heard of such a fierce student. It seems that this is a dark horse, too fierce. You know, the educational resources of our comprehensive high school are far inferior to those of the martial arts high school. He can actually break into the top 100. What kind of luck is Hangzhou No. 1 Middle School this year? There is such a student in the martial arts exam class. Based on past experience, the top 200 college entrance examination scores have always been dominated by martial arts high schools, and comprehensive high schools have nothing to do with it. The comprehensive high school students who can break the blockade and break into the top 200 are all outstanding people who can only be born occasionally in the past years. This is not deliberately targeted, but determined by the source of students. For those students who are determined to become martial artists, their first choice in junior high school is naturally a martial arts high school with better educational resources. Students with more outstanding abilities will naturally be accepted by martial arts high schools. The number 1 martial arts high school where Zhang Pojian is located even has to check the parents' files before students enter the school. Those with martial artists as parents are given priority for admission. Under such conditions, Su Gu's achievement is really too eye-catching. Congratulations, Principal Liu, your martial arts class actually produced such a student this year. Old Liu, you are really unkind. For 3 months, I led the students of our martial arts class to exchange with you, but I never saw the name Su Jiyu. You are really unkind, and you are still hiding your shortcomings. The principal of the second middle school said bitterly. Anyway, congratulations, after so many years, our comprehensive high school has finally raised its head. Listening to the questioning mixed with these congratulations, Liu Yuanmin was speechless. It's not that he is not honest and hides his incompetence. He just found out that he has a student like Su Jiyu these 2 days. He only found out that Su Jiyu is so powerful after looking at the rankings. But at this time, there was no way to say this, so I could only accept these congratulations with a smile on my face. Seeing the excitement among the principals of the comprehensive high schools sitting in the outer circle, Mayor Liu Chengwei and the principals of the martial arts high schools around him also became interested. Their eyes also focused on the rankings from Zhang Pojian's live video, Superior. It's really rare. It's true. There are really students from comprehensive high schools who have broken into the top 100. It's amazing. Why aren't students like this in our martial arts high school? I'm going to ask the admissions office teacher about it later. Compared to the excitement of the principals of comprehensive high schools, the principals of these martial arts high schools are much calmer. It's just 100 people, it can't change the world. Mayor Liu Chengwei wrote down Su Gu's name and thought to himself, although the top 100 in the city is not outstanding in the province. But after all, he came from a comprehensive high school, which is a good gimmick. After the college entrance examination, we will focus on promoting Zhang Pojian's achievements and strength. And this student named Su Jiyu can promote his hard work, and unwillingness to admit defeat. Just as Lu Chengwei was thinking about the publicity work after the college entrance examination, another exclamation came from behind him. Look, Sugu's ranking is still rising. At this moment, an exclamation came from behind him. Lu Chengwei set his sights on the rankings again. I saw, without looking at it for a while, that Sugu's ranking had risen to 96th. Then came the 87th bit. 79 bits. 70 bits. 61 bits. ... The expressions on the faces of the principals of the martial arts high schools gradually became serious. After killing a foreigner, the warrior must take a rest no matter what, and then look for the next foreigner again. This will cause his score to stagnate for a period of time, giving those behind him a chance to catch up. But Sugu's score increased very steadily, which showed one thing. It was extremely easy for him to kill mid-level aliens, and he didn't even need any rest. This shows one thing: Sugu's final position is not just in the top 100. At this moment, the examiner wearing a green military uniform and a military medal on his chest said with stern eyes. With a very stable kill speed, he has the ability to break into the top 10. Top 10. This made everyone's mouths slightly open. In their hearts, they had already given extremely high expectations to Su Jiyu, but the examiner's prediction still easily raised the position they had set in their hearts by a large margin. No one doubted the examiner's judgment. The military medals worn on his military uniform were convincing enough. This was the judgment of a soldier who retired from the battlefield and fought with the alien races in the starry sky and made military achievements. The students of the comprehensive high school entered the top 10 in the city in the martial arts exam. Lu Yuanmin's lips moved, muttering as if he was talking in his sleep. At this moment, as the principal, he actually felt a sense of honor for his students. Who is the principal of Hangzhou No. 1 Middle School? Mayor Lu Chengwei asked calmly after drinking a cup of tea. It's me, Mayor Lu, I'm Lu Yuanmin. Principal Lu squeezed into the circle of principals of martial arts high schools next to Mayor Lu with a smile on his face. Under the envious and jealous gaze of the principal of the comprehensive high school who was in the outer circle like him before, he truly felt what it meant to be in high spirits. Mayor Lu nodded and said, Principal Lu, please tell my secretary about the deeds of this student named Su Jiyu who has worked hard in training for 3 years. It would be best if you can provide some videos, and our city will carry out some publicity for this student. After hearing this, Lu Yuanmin's face suddenly froze. Deeds? How would he know what deeds? An hour ago, he also suggested that the head teacher Zhou Li stop Su Jiyu from taking the martial arts exam. He was confused about this matter. As for the video materials, there is no video material. After all, Su Jiyu has never been to the school martial arts exam class in his 3 years of high school. Mayor Lu, I don't know much about how Su Jiyu, a student, prepared for the martial arts exam. Lu Chengwei frowned. The martial arts exam is a top priority for any institution. A student like Su Jiyu actually didn't know anything about it. Principal Lu in front of him was a little irresponsible. Then call all the teachers and class teachers in charge of the martial arts exam in your school. They should know about these things about the students they teach. Lu Yuanmin's face flushed red, and after a moment he murmured, I think these people may not have the video of Su Jiyu training for the martial arts exam. Lu Chengwei's expression frowned deeply, and he said with some displeasure, What's wrong with your Hangzhou No. 1 Middle School? How can such a talented student be treated so casually? Lu Yuanmin lowered his head, and after a moment he seemed to finally be unable to hold back, and shouted, Mayor Lu, regarding the student Su Jiyu, he is actually not a student in the martial arts exam class in our school, he belongs to the literary exam class. His supernatural power does not have combat effectiveness. After our inspection, his supernatural power can only increase the speed of learning and concentration, and does not have any combat ability. So when Su Jiyu was divided into classes in the first year of high school, we assigned him to the literary exam class. He is a literary exam student. Lu Chengwei's expression froze. He never thought that he would get such an answer. And the others were even more dumbfounded. The top 100 in the whole city, you told me that this is a student in the literature exam class. Old Lu, are you kidding me? The principal of Hangzhou No. 2 Middle School finally couldn't hold it in anymore and asked directly. It's amazing enough that a comprehensive high school student beat a group of martial arts high schools. Now you tell me that the student hasn't participated in the martial arts exam class for 3 years. You are making up urban legends. Lu Yuanmin sighed and nodded. It's true. I was worried about the student's safety and planned to stop him from participating in the martial arts exam, but this, who would have thought of it? The principals present, looking at Lu Yuanmin's sincere expression, knew that he was not lying. Everyone felt a sense of absurdity. These educators present have worked in their fields for at least 10 years, but no one has seen such a situation. A student who has been taking the literature exam for 3 years now beats a group of martial arts students. What's this? Am I dreaming now? In fact, tomorrow is the day of the martial arts exam. Some people couldn't help but pinch their thighs. It wasn't until they felt pain that they realized it was true. At this moment, including the mayor, everyone's eyes were once again focused on the rankings, looking at Su Gu's ranking. While they were talking, this student had already ranked in the top 50 in the city. Lu Chengwei murmured, "Such a student actually has no ability to fight." His tone was half amazed and half regretful. With such an ability, even if there is a decent C-level ability, maybe he can compete with Zhang Pojian. When the time comes, the two of them will compete with each other and stimulate each other's potential. Maybe this year's provincial champion will appear in Hangzhou. Thinking of this, Lu Chengwei sighed. Hangzhou's economy is good, but the martial arts are sluggish. There has been no provincial martial arts champion for 10 years. If Su Jiyu really has a good ability, maybe it can change all this. But the examiner who was born in a military family beside the mayor, the look in his eyes is more and more interested. He stared at Su Gu's name on the leaderboard and said calmly, "I am getting more and more curious about this student now. Once he enters the top 10, he will be eligible for live broadcasting, so wait and see." Su Jiyu didn't let him wait for long, and his ranking rose at a very stable rate. Su Jiyu, 20th place. Su Jiyu, 17th place. Su Jiyu, 14th place. Su Jiyu, 10th place. When he reached this rank, everyone's eyes turned from the ranking to the live broadcast area of the 10th place. At this moment, Su Gu's figure finally appeared in the eyes of the principals and the mayor through the small suspension machine used for live broadcast in the examination room. The man in the live broadcast screen was as tall as a pine tree, with a face like a crown and a smile on his lips. He looked around and revealed a calmness unique to a strong man. It seemed that the place where he was at this moment was not the examination room that determined his life, but strolling in his own courtyard. Is he Su Jiyu? What a handsome young man. This was everyone's first impression of him. Then, he set his eyes on Su Gu's weapon. They wanted to know what kind of martial arts profession such a dark horse that was rarely seen in a century in the martial arts examination was. But at a glance, they were even more confused. A group of people surrounded Su Gu's live broadcast screen and discussed it seriously. Knife, double daggers, spear, why does he carry so many weapons? Is he a berserker, a warrior, or an assassin? Look, his double daggers are still stained with the blood and flesh of the star alien, and the other two weapons are almost never used. He is undoubtedly an assassin. I guess he carries the other two weapons to confuse others. Others looked and it was true. Young people nowadays are really ignorant. They have already taken the college entrance examination, but they still have to carry decorative and extra weapons to pretend to be amateurs. Do they like to play the pig and eat the tiger so much? Someone shook his head and said, "Look, this student named Su Jiyu is still using the obsolete fine steel as a weapon." These people looked closely and it was true. The expression on the face of Principal Lu Yuanmin suddenly became anxious. Now that the mid-level aliens are deployed, the hardness of many muscles is higher than fine steel. Weapons of this material are not good enough. He originally blamed Su Jiyu in his heart, but when he thought of the other party's orphan family, he held back. Su Jiyu, if you need money to buy weapons, why don't you apply for a loan? Lu Yuanmin thought to himself. At this moment, the principal of the second middle school next to him exclaimed. Su Jiyu encountered a King Kong terror bear. At this moment, a bear-like creature with scarlet eyes slowly walked out in front of Su Ji. It was hairless and its whole body was shining with metallic luster. Just looking at it, you could tell that it was extremely strong. When it walked into Su Gu's sight, it stood up on its two legs, and its huge body of 4 meters stood in front of Su Ji, like a monster. A woo, a fierce and majestic roar came from the mouth of this beast. Just by relying on the pressure of the sound, some glass in the ruins was shattered. Then the monster narrowed its scarlet eyes slightly, staring at Su Ji 10 meters away, and its two calves slightly bent down, as if ready to pounce at any time. Mayor Lu Chengwei looked at the two daggers in Su Gu's hand, which were shining with metallic luster, and frowned slightly and said, Su Ji is now facing a mid-level King Kong terror bear. This species is extremely hard all over. The hardness of the mid-level King Kong terror bear's body is definitely stronger than the fine steel daggers in Su Gu's hand. Now he has no means to break the King Kong terror bear's defense. But fortunately, the King Kong terror bear is not fast. As an assassin, Su Ji has the advantage of speed. The best choice now is to avoid its edge. The mayor's analysis made the principals present nod secretly, and no one felt ashamed of this choice. This is not running away. Everyone has enemies that they are not good at facing. Playing to their strengths and avoiding weaknesses is also an important strategy in the martial arts exam. In the live broadcast, Su Ji had a smile on his lips, and the two daggers in his hands turned like butterflies. Looking at the monster in front of him, the fighting spirit emerged in his eyes. Having just advanced the proficiency of instant step to mastery, he needs a strong enough opponent to measure his own strength. Watching Su Gu's choice in the live broadcast, people in the viewing room were talking about it. Why doesn't he retreat? The toy knife in his hand is not enough to scrape the skin of the bear's feet. Did he apply nerve poison on his dagger and stab the bear's eyes directly to defeat the enemy with one blow? The value of this poison is more expensive than a pair of black and gold daggers. It shouldn't be possible. A group of martial arts high school principals were whispering about Su Gu's winning method, but they talked for a long time without any results. Lu Yuanmin clenched his fists tightly, his face full of tension. Mayor Lu Chengwei also frowned slightly, not quite understanding why Su Ji made such a choice. Is he stupid? The only examiner with a military medal present was the one with a more interested look on his face. Su Ji moved his position with a small jump step and twisted his neck. Then he held the daggers and rushed straight to the bear. The assassin and the bear were head-on. Is he crazy? This sentence echoed in everyone's mind at this moment. But what happened the next moment made these people doubt their lives. After Su Ji shortened the distance between him and the terror bear to less than 1 meter, his figure disappeared instantly and went around the back of the terror bear. Then a 20-centimeter wound appeared on the back of the terror bear. The terror bear roared and turned around, slapping hard in the direction of the pain. But Su Ji used its waving arm to move again in the air, and this time appeared in front of the terror bear, and there was also a 20-centimeter wound on the neck of the terror bear. The terror bear roared again, but it was still useless. Then the side of the calf, and then the gap between the ribs was penetrated, and one eye was blinded by the dagger. The roar of the terror bear gradually turned into a wail. One wound is only a minor injury, but the accumulation of wounds will eventually be fatal. He wanted to escape painfully, but Su Ji was sticking to him like a ghost, and no matter how he tried to get rid of Su Ji, it was useless. Finally, the bear fell to the ground with serious injuries and dying 30 seconds after meeting Su Ji. Su Ji then slowly inserted the dagger directly into its eyes and destroyed its brain. Kill the alien King Kong bear of the starry sky, and the college entrance examination score is +23. The current score of the examinee Su Ji is 789 points, ranking 10th. Su Ji listened to the prompt sound from the survival watch, nodded with satisfaction, and then left quickly to find the next prey. Looking at the live broadcast, the entire viewing room fell into a long silence. Every time Su Ji made a move, it would inevitably cause damage to the bear. But he was not greedy for the knife. Sometimes he chose to give up when there was a chance to cause greater damage. This is the character of an assassin. In this battle, Su Gu's combat quality even surpassed many high school martial arts teachers. Moreover, this massacre was carried out without any supernatural powers, purely using martial arts skills, which shocked the onlookers greatly. In addition to these, there was another question lingering in the minds of these spectators. They thought quietly for a full 30 seconds, and finally someone couldn't help asking. What's the matter with the weapon in Sugu's hand? Is it really made of fine steel? If it is made of just fine steel, how could it easily cause damage to the terror bear? With the physical strength of the terror bear, even black gold is difficult to cut. How can fine steel cut through the flesh of the terror bear like cutting tofu? I don't think it's fine steel. I think it may be a new material that looks similar to fine steel and was secretly developed by the military or the Earth Federation government. This was the doubt in everyone's mind. Everyone, including Mayor Liu Chengwei, looked at the examiner in unison, hoping to get the answer from him. The instructor completely ignored the principal's intentions. At this moment, his eyes were fixed on Sugu, who was moving quickly during the live broadcast, with undisguised and warm appreciation in his eyes. Cough. Mayor Liu Chengwei on the side coughed slightly, and then whispered, "Instructor Zhou, could you please help us clear up our doubts?" Instructor Zhou's flaming eyes gradually extinguished, and then he said calmly, "That weapon is just an ordinary fine steel product. As for why the fine steel can cut the flesh of the dire bear, it is also very simple. When cutting meat, if you cut along the muscle texture of the meat product, the loss consumed will be much less." This student named Sugu perfectly avoided the attack of the dire bear. At the same time, every attack followed the dire bear's muscles and dismembered it like a butcher dismembering a cow. This not only has a high killing efficiency, but will not even cause damage to the weapon. For a master like Sugu, stainless steel weapons will not affect his performance. When these words were spoken, everyone suddenly realized, but after savoring it carefully for a moment, they immediately realized the horror in it. To be able to do this, one must be familiar with the physical anatomy of the Vajra bear. The time it takes to completely understand the muscle structure of another race is no shorter than the time it takes to practice a combat skill. Moreover, among the alien races in the starry sky in the examination room, there are more than just Vajra dire bears. Their physical strength exceeds that of fine steel, and there are nearly 100 species that are comparable to fine steel. If Sugu used this method to kill most alien races, then it would be impossible for him to only understand the physical anatomy of one alien race. Think about the stainless steel dagger in Sugu's hand, which was still intact after killing all the people in the top 10. For the first time, these principals felt a sense of awe from a student. They remember that alien anatomy is part of the elective course. The average martial arts student is already hard enough in training, so where can he find the time to remember these things? Examiner Zhou watched Sugu use the same method again to kill a life-eating tiger during the live broadcast, and the look of appreciation on his face became even stronger. In the Dark Ages, when there were no better weapons, this was how the heroes of the past killed the aliens. This student named Sugu recreated the heroic fighting methods of the Dark Ages. Cough. Mayor Liu Chengwei coughed lightly again, and then said calmly to Sugu's principal, "Liu Yuanman, what's going on with you? Why don't you prepare better weapons for Sugu?" Although the warriors of the Dark Ages were very great, humans have been studying warrior weapons for many years. Isn't it just to save future warriors from the suffering of the past? In order to recreate the greatness of the warriors of the past, it makes it difficult for the current warriors. This kind of thing is simply putting the cart before the horse. He, Liu Chengwei, would not agree. Liu Yuanman's face showed a look of embarrassment that he could not speak. At this moment, Liu Chengwei's secretary whispered in his ear, "Mayor, Liu Yuanman didn't agree with Sugu Wukao before, how could he provide him with weapons? I just checked. These weapons from Sugu were applied to the government, and you also approved them." Liu Chengwei was stunned for a moment, and then said to Liu Yuanman again with a normal expression, "I won't do this next time." Then he quietly dropped the topic. Everyone looked at Sugu's performance in the live broadcast again. Even if he reaches the top 10, Sugu's ranking is still improving steadily. 9th place, 7th place, the 5th place. Until it reached 2nd place. Sugu was bathed in blood along the way, like a god of war who would never fall. In front of him, only the last Zhang Pojian remained. Now everyone is looking forward to who among them can win the 1st place. The examiner said calmly, it's almost time, and we can put in the high-level awakening starry sky aliens. In the examination room, there were originally more than 3,000 candidates, but now there are only less than 50 who still have the energy to kill monsters and get points. Almost all the students below 200 have withdrawn. Among these 50 people, Sugu's rise in the ranking list is like a firework rising into the sky, which has completely attracted the attention of those students who have completed the martial arts exam and left the fallen city. The name that stands high above and suppresses all the candidates, and the name of the comprehensive high school in front of the name prefix is too eye-catching. For a while, all the students outside the fallen city were discussing this name. This is too fake. How could the students of the comprehensive high school suppress our martial arts high school? Could it be that in order to make its own school rank more outstanding, Hangzhou No. 1 high school spent a lot of money to introduce students from martial arts schools in other provinces? Yes, I think so. This student named Su Jiyu must have received a lot of benefits from their principal before agreeing to transfer his student status and take the college entrance examination in another place. Those students of the martial arts high school who could not accept that they were suppressed by the students of the comprehensive high school began to spread unfounded rumors. For a while, conspiracy theories were everywhere. What nonsense are you talking about? Su Jiyu has studied in our school for 3 years. He is a celebrity. Yes, and he studied in the liberal arts exam class. You are not only suppressed by the comprehensive high school, but also by the liberal arts exam students. Faced with these conspiracy theories, alumni of the same school spoke up to defend them and produced evidence that Su Jiyu had been in school for 3 years. The students of the martial arts class of Hangzhou No. 1 high school looked at Sugu's ranking at this moment, and their faces were full of pride. At first, they were a little jealous of Sugu's ranking. But after seeing Sugu's current ranking, which is a position they can never reach in their lifetime, they only have a sense of honor. Looking at the evidence, especially seeing that Su Jiyu studied the liberal arts exam for 3 years, and even had a useless supernatural power that could not be graded. Those who clamored and spread rumors had their eyes wide open. They kept saying, "How is this possible? How is this possible?" The students of other comprehensive schools were in a completely different situation. Too strong, how did he do it? He is in the same comprehensive high school as me, and in the liberal arts exam class, but he can do such a thing. I just had a meal, and he went directly from the top 10 to the top 10, and after peeing, he went from the top 10 to the second place. Is his name Su Jiyu? If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I really couldn't imagine it. Other comprehensive high school students looked at the 2 words Su Jiyu and his ranking on the list. After learning about Sugu's deeds, they were not only shocked, but even worshipped him. From a comprehensive high school to this position, no matter how he did it, it proves that he is an inspirational god. So what if he's from a comprehensive high school or has useless abilities? Su Jiyu didn't give up on himself. He worked hard for 3 years and became stronger. I want to learn from him. Useless abilities. The liberal arts class doesn't even have martial arts training equipment. He can still achieve such results. I admit that I'm inspired. After the college entrance examination, I will take a screenshot of Sugu's ranking and make it a screensaver for my mobile phone. I want to use this to inspire my future college life. Listening to the heated discussions of these people, Ma Mingji on the side was very satisfied. He hugged Wu Yi and Zheng Di who had just come out of the examination room and said loudly, "Su Jiyu is my brother. When he gets the top scorer, I will hold the most luxurious entrance banquet for him in the city. Anyone who wants to come can come. You don't need to bring anything. I, Mr. Ma, will pay for the entire meal." Ma Mingji's voice was immediately supported by a group of people in the examination room. Good, Mr. Ma is awesome, but at the same time, it also caused some discordant voices. Bah, Su Jiyu is not the first yet. The first is still Zhang Pojian from our No. 1 martial arts high school. What are you so arrogant about? That's right, I didn't expect to be able to open champagne halfway through the exam. Being too arrogant will not end well. I tell you, the first place must still be someone from our No. 1 martial arts high school. These are Zhang Pojian's classmates from the same school, and they shouted at Ma Mingji desperately. Ma Mingji immediately said, "You are only being stubborn now. With my brother's ranking rising speed, it is only a matter of time for him to become the first. I think you are dreaming. Zhang Pojian's score is 1/3 higher than Su Gu's. While the students were arguing because of their tempers, military transport planes flew into the sky, and the roaring engine sound covered the noisy arguments outside the examination room. After the transport planes took off, they began to deploy high-level star aliens in various areas that had been reserved in advance. At this moment in the VIP viewing room, the chief examiner Zhou Zhengsheng stood in front of the radio and said lightly, "The third hour has arrived, and the awakened high-level star aliens have begun to be deployed. The survival watches given to you cannot completely defend against the attacks of the star aliens of this level. Please do what you can." After reminding the candidates of the dangers to come, he turned off the radio. Those who can survive in the fallen city until this time are all outstanding students. Some things don't need to be said too much. Students know how to ensure their own safety. At the same time, the exam is about to come to an end. The chief examiner of the examination room will broadcast the current situation in the examination room live according to the management. Next, anyone can check the situation of the students in the examination room through the live broadcast. Look, Su Jiyu and Zhang Pojian have run into each other. The students outside the examination room took out their mobile phones and exclaimed. This made Ma Mingji, who was just arguing with someone, stop arguing immediately and took out his mobile phone to check Su Gu's current situation. At this moment in the live broadcast, after Su Jiyu and Zhang Pojian each killed a skeleton twin, the two of them confronted each other from a distance with the corpse of this high-level awakening star alien as the boundary. Even though they were two underage students, they gave people a feeling of deep confrontation. "You must be Su Jiyu." Zhang Pojian spoke first, and his tone was quite certain. "Do you know me? With the speed at which your ranking is rising, it's hard for me not to know." Su Jiyu showed a sunny smile to the 2-meter-tall bald man holding a giant axe. Zhang Pojian also smiled, and then said, "After the college entrance examination, I want to compete with you." "Why do we have to wait until after the college entrance examination? Aren't we competing now?" Su Jiyu asked in confusion. Zhang Pojian shook his head and said, "As an assassin, you can't compare to the offensive heavy armor who is good at frontal combat in terms of the number of enemies you kill and the efficiency of killing. It's unfair to you to use the form of the college entrance examination to compare you and me." At this point, the smile on Zhang Pojian's face became a little ferocious and confident. "So after the college entrance examination, I will fight you head-on. I want to let everyone know that as long as it is related to martial arts, I, Zhang Pojian, will be the first in anything." In his tone, there was a strong self-confidence, which was the self-confidence cultivated by being ranked first in Hangzhou Martial Arts High School for many years. Zhang Pojian didn't think that there was anyone among his peers in this city who could compete with him. This dark horse who came out of nowhere is not okay either. Facing the other party's overwhelming confidence, Su Jiyu showed a warm smile on his face, as if the breeze was blowing on his face. He did not refute Zhang Pojian's words, nor did he pay attention to him, but said lightly, "Okay, I know." Then he turned around and walked towards the place with the loudest movement and the most likely place to be strange. Su Jiyu didn't care about anything now, he was just immersed in the pleasure of rapidly improving his combat proficiency and becoming stronger. His first choice now was to find monsters and verify his martial arts. But Zhang Pojian narrowed his eyes slightly, and he tasted a silent contempt in Su Gu's indifferent action. "Who do you think is stronger, Su Jiyu or Zhang Pojian?" In the VIP viewing room, Mayor Lu Chengwei asked calmly. People here knew everything about the conversation between Zhang Pojian and Su Jiyu just now through live monitoring. The two strongest students in this year's martial arts test in Hangzhou finally faced each other head-on. One was the previously recognized #1 candidate, and the other was a super dark horse. This kind of confrontation, like Mars hitting the Earth, is full of topic, and the outcome is naturally arousing curiosity. The principals of the major martial arts high schools who were still watching looked at each other. They wanted to name Zhang Pojian. After all, if this year's city champion was really taken away by a student from a comprehensive high school, where would their school's reputation be? But they had watched Sugu's killing live broadcast for such a long time, and the fools also understood how terrifying this student's fighting talent was. Even Zhang Pojian, who had B-level powers and was integrated into the Starry Sky Titan's Bone Powder Battle Axe, they did not a way to give him a guaranteed win. As for Lu Yuanmin, the principal of Hengcheng No. 1 Middle School, his face turned red. He really wanted to say Sugu's name. But he also had no confidence in winning against Sugu. At this moment, everyone was frozen here, and the entire VIP viewing room fell into a long silence. If two people compete in a one-on-one arena, I can guarantee that Sugu will win. The examiner Zhou Zhengsheng broke the quiet atmosphere and said flatly. When killing the King Kong Terror Bear, Sugu's proficiency in the instant step he used has reached the level of mastery. However, most of Zhang Pojian's combat skills are still at the level of combat skill mastery, and he is still a little accomplished, 1 or 2. Perfect mastery is a trump card. In terms of combat experience, Sugu Gaozhong has at least 1 level of strength. In a life and death battle, it cannot be compensated by just a B-level ability. His words brought ecstasy to Lu Yuanmin's face, and the expressions of the principals of the martial arts high schools dimmed. Just when Lu Yuanmin wanted to wave his hands excitedly to celebrate in advance that his school's students won the first place in the city, Zhou Zhengsheng's voice sounded again. But it is a pity that this is not a one-on-one duel. The aliens in the starry sky who are killed now are all awakened realms and do not have wisdom yet. Killing this kind of aliens who are not much different from beasts has almost wiped out Sugu and Zhang. Break the gap in combat experience. As a martial arts profession, the assassin's essence is to patiently look for opportunities for important targets, and then kill them with 1 strike. This is not suitable for the examination room that pursues killing efficiency. Especially now that the martial arts examination is about to enter the end, the difficulty has risen sharply, and his opponent is still a very destructive offensive heavy weapon. When he said this, Zhou Zhengsheng's face also showed a hint of hesitation and struggle. Compared to Zhang Pojian, he actually admired Su Jiyu more. But there is no way. He is a fair referee and does not want to make unfair judgments because of his preference. So, I think Zhang Pojian will still be number 1 in the end. After hearing this, everyone nodded at the same time. They chose to believe Zhou Zhengsheng's judgment. After all, this is a powerful soldier with military exploits. Everyone focused their attention on the live broadcast. At this moment, Sugu was using Shunpo to fight with a group of high-level blood skeletons. With his ease, the viewer has no doubt that it will only be a matter of time before he kills the blood skeleton. But suddenly, a tiger-like figure rushed over. Zhang Pojian raised his battle axe and used the B-level combat skill, 12 stunning stone strikes. With just 1 blow, the blood skeleton was crushed to pieces. Work together to kill the high-level blood skeleton, assist, and Sugu's college entrance examination score +18. Kill, Zhang Pojian's college entrance examination score +27. Sugu frowned slightly. Actual combat can speed up his understanding of combat skills. He is also planning to continue to verify what he has learned on this blood skeleton. Zhang Pojian blamed him for this, which made him very unhappy. When Zhang Pojian saw this, he showed his bright white teeth and said, "This is also a kind of tactic. From now on, I only need to follow you and grab your monsters, and your score will not exceed mine. The number 1 in the city can only be me, Zhang Pojian." Next, Zhang Pojian followed Sugu exactly as he said. Relying on his offensive heavy equipment, the destructive power is even stronger, and he will grab Sugu's monsters unscrupulously every time. Gradually, the scores began to widen between the first and second places on the leaderboard. This is too despicable. This Zhang Pojian obviously has the ability to kill monsters, but he insists on robbing my brother of monsters. It is simply shameless. Ma Mingji watched Zhang Pojian's tactics in the live broadcast and said angrily, "What's so despicable about this? If you can't afford it, don't play it." The martial arts high school student who had argued with Ma Mingji before about whose number 1 belonged to said proudly, "You people are arrogant, keep being arrogant. That Sugu is no match for Zhang Pojian in the examination room. The gap between him and Zhang Pojian will become wider and wider, and he can only be the second best. Secondly, it's okay. Let Sugu find a place to celebrate by himself. Stop having that sweet dream of trying to conquer all the students by yourself. The number one this year is still the number one high school in our martial arts. Don't think about it. After hearing what these people said, the students from Comprehensive High School who had previously supported Sugu had a sad expression on their faces. Could it be that students from comprehensive high schools really can only go here at most? Shut up, all of you. Ma Mingji roared, suppressing the surrounding voices questioning Sugu. Then he continued to look at the screen nervously. In the viewing room, Principal Qian of the First Martial Arts High School, where Zhang Pojian was, who had been watching the live broadcast silently, breathed a sigh of relief. Although Zhang Pojian's tactics were somewhat shameless, the school's first place for several consecutive years was finally saved. He pretended to be generous and patted Lu Yuanmen on the shoulder and said, "It's okay, a student like Su Jiyu has lived well enough." Lu Yuanmen twitched his lips. Although this was the truth, he was indeed proud of Su Gu's good results. But he always felt a little uncomfortable in his heart. At this moment, Su Jiyu frowned tightly as he watched the prey that Zhang Pojian kept snatching away. After a while, his brows relaxed, and he sighed softly. "Originally, I wanted to use the Star Alien race to hone my own combat skills, so I didn't deliberately pursue the killing speed, but mainly practiced my perception. But since the other party challenged me so enthusiastically, it would be impolite not to respond." At this moment, Su Jiyu suddenly accelerated in the direction of a high-level King Kong terror bear. Zhang Pojian, who was following him like a maggot, smiled and showed his white teeth. This guy called Su Jiyu is only this level. Now his heart is completely unbalanced. With his fighting skills and weapons, it is impossible to quickly break the defense of the high-level terror bear. At most, he can help me hold him back. Only I can do the fatal kill. When the system calculates the score, the kill is mine, and you can only be counted as an assist. So accept your fate. With me, Zhang Pojian, here, you can only be second in this martial arts exam. Su Gu's speed is very fast, but he moves in the air as nimble as a flying leaf. The terror bear didn't notice until he appeared within 3 meters of it. Just as the monster was about to roar, Su Gu's face condensed, and the instant step of the mastery level was used at the same time as the wind dance slash. At that moment, he seemed to have turned into a meat grinder, and blood and flesh splattered. Previously, it took 30 seconds to kill a mid-level terror bear, but after Su Gu's unreserved attack, the high-level terror bear could only survive for 1 breath. The students outside didn't think much of Su Gu's rising score, but the principals and leaders in the viewing room who witnessed the whole scene all widened their eyes at this moment, not understanding what happened. Didn't it take 30 seconds to kill a mid-level terror bear before, but how come it only takes 1 breath to kill a high-level one now? Examiner Zhou Zhengsheng stood up suddenly and muttered in disbelief. How is it possible? How is this possible? How can this be something a student can do? Seeing that this soldier who had won a military medal was in such a state, the principals didn't dare to breathe for a moment. Mayor Lu Chengwei also showed a trace of uneasiness on his face, and asked cautiously, "Officer Zhou, what happened? What made you lose your composure like this?" After Zhou Zhengsheng took a few deep breaths, he slowly said, "I misjudged Su Jiyu. He has mastered more than just the instant step combat skill, and if I'm not mistaken, this kid is actually thinking about practicing himself during the college entrance examination. He is honing his combat skills by encountering aliens in the starry sky. Every time he kills in the live broadcast, we saw that he did it not for the pursuit of efficiency, but to verify what he has learned." After hearing this, everyone swallowed a mouthful of saliva. As the principal present, it is very clear what this means. In this examination room that can determine one's life, martial arts candidates are all in a very nervous state of mind, desperately pursuing the speed of killing. And Su Jiyu is thinking about how to use this exam to improve himself again. This is equivalent to the situation in the literature exam. When others are working hard to solve the questions, Su Jiyu is leisurely thinking about the second, third, or even fourth solutions to the questions. He actively adds difficulty to himself, but in the end he can still crush other students of the same grade. What kind of confidence is this? What kind of person is this? Lu Yuanmen's face was dull. Is this really a student of our school? Is this really a martial arts student who can come out of our school? Principal Qian of the First Martial Arts High School clenched his fists, and his expression was a little depressed. Next, Zhang Pojian, not to mention stealing Su Gu's monster, even the prey he had set his eyes on was quickly killed by Su Jiyu. In just a moment, everything was completely turned upside down. The gap between Su Jiyu and Zhang Pojian continued to narrow. From the beginning, the difference was 200 points to 150 points. Then 100 points, 50 points, tied, overtook. Su Jiyu topped the list. 2,857 points, Su Jiyu, first. The entire Fallen City was surrounded by students who had finished the college entrance examination, and at this moment, there was a brief silence. The students of the martial arts high school swallowed their saliva suddenly, their eyes full of disbelief. The name at the top of the list seemed like a high god in the sky, and even Zhang Pojian, who they always thought was the first, was suppressed by it. See, this is my brother, he is the first in the city martial arts exam this year. Ma Mingji grabbed the collar of the person next to him, shook it madly, and shouted hoarsely. Students of the First Martial Arts High School, shout again. Let's see who is the first now. Zhang Pojian's classmates were livid, but no one refuted. There is no first in literature, and no second in martial arts. They all saw Su Gu's performance in the live broadcast. As an assassin, this guy's killing speed in front of the enemy can actually be comparable to that of an offensive heavy armor. It's outrageous. Hey, Zhang Pojian, who you all praised so much before, how come after 5 minutes, his score hasn't risen yet? After such a long time, the score hasn't moved, Ma Mingji said with a smile on his face. This made the faces of the students of the First Martial Arts High School change between green and red. Su Jiyu began to use Zhang Pojian's previous monster-grabbing tactics. The difference is that relying on the assassin's high mobility, Zhang Pojian can't even get assists now. The words just said immediately hit him in the face, and the key is that he can't refute it. This made these people feel very depressed, and they couldn't refute it. This Su Jiyu is really too fierce. How did he do it? What Su Jiyu? This is Su Shen. I just doubted Su Shen, I am guilty. Su Shen is actually in the same school as me. When I go to college, I will brag about this to my roommate. The students of the comprehensive high school widened their eyes. After seeing Su Gu's performance in the live broadcast, many people were deeply impressed. They felt that they were witnessing the birth of a legend. At this moment, Zhou Li, Su Gu's head teacher, was surrounded by many head teachers of martial arts classes who wanted her to share her teaching experience. After witnessing Su Gu's power, these people were also full of disbelief. What kind of monster is this Su Jiyu? Someone murmured. At this moment, Zhang Pojian, who was facing Su Jiyu in the examination room, had the same idea as him. What kind of monster is this? Is he really my peer? Zhang Pojian used his superpowers to strengthen his leg strength and increase his speed, so that he could barely keep up with Su Jiyu. But Su Jiyu had a normal look on his face, and he obviously had some strength left. He and Su Jiyu quickly shuttled through the ruins of reinforced concrete. Whenever he met the prey he wanted to kill, Su Gu's figure was always able to kill it first. Zhang Pojian didn't even get an assist. After raising the destructive power of his combat skills, the high mobility of the assassin was undoubtedly crushing the heavy armored warriors. After the tactics he had just used were used by Su Jiyu against him, Zhang Pojian felt uncomfortable like constipation. No, I can't go on like this. Originally, this thing was prepared to kill the star aliens that were released at the end of the college entrance examination in previous years. I was going to kill that thing and impact the top 3 in the province. Zhang Pojian stopped and showed a serious look on his face. He took out a black box from his arms, and when he opened it, there were 2 syringes with scarlet potions flowing inside. Blood heat potion. You actually prepared this kind of thing for students. In the VIP viewing room, Principal Lu Chengwei frowned and said to Principal Qian of the First Martial Arts High School. After injecting this potion, the strength of the injector can be increased for a short time, but it will also cause damage to the body. If too much is injected in a short time, this damage may even be irreversible. The college entrance examination is used to select talents. Although there is no order to prohibit the use of such props, this thing obviously violates the original intention of the college entrance examination. Principal Qian looked embarrassed and did not dare to argue with the mayor, but he did not agree in his heart. As long as he could get the first place, this was just a small price to pay. How despicable. This thing is used in the exam. It's too shameless. Ma Mingji watched the live broadcast screen. Zhang Pojian rolled up his sleeves and pushed the blood heat medicine in a syringe into the body, and cursed indignantly. Because of the powerful power of the blood heat medicine after injection, and the harm to the human body. This thing is a semi-tube product, and people without connections can't get it at all. Using this kind of thing in the college entrance examination is really shameless. You got the first place in the number 1 martial arts high school this way, didn't you? After stopping talking, the expressions on Zhang Pojian's classmates' faces changed a little, but then they said, the use of blood heat potions is not prohibited in the college entrance examination. If you have the guts, let Su Ji-yu use it too. You can find excuses for taking drugs in the examination room. Is this the martial arts ethics of your martial arts high school? There is no such thing as absolute fairness in this world. There is only victory and defeat among warriors. Why are you pretending to be a fool? And it's just normal battlefield supplies. You can call it taking drugs. Don't play if you can't afford it. A bunch of trash who wash everything. ... Just when the people outside the examination room were arguing, Su Ji-yu, after killing a high-level skeleton twin, looked at Zhang Pojian's big bald head with red light, and said with interest, your head is quite bright. The expression on Zhang Pojian's face became ferocious, and then he rushed towards a high-level soul-eating wolf like a fiery red meteor. Very good. My speed and strength have increased by at least 2 times. My speed is already faster than Su Ji-yu. Next is my counterattack time. Zhang Pojian's eyes were fanatical, and he kept shouting in his heart. But the moment he approached the soul-eating wolf, the wolf's head was gone. It's indeed faster, but not enough. Su Gu's calm voice came over. Zhang Pojian's face condensed slightly, and then he said lightly, my blood heat potion has just been injected, and the effect has not been fully exerted. Su Ji-yu, you can't be arrogant for long. The two of them kept flashing in the sky at a speed so fast that it was difficult to see their shapes with the naked eye. 1 minute later, the effect of the blood heat potion began to take effect, and Zhang Pojian could already get assists. At this moment, the expression on Zhang Pojian's face became fanatical. He shouted wildly in his heart, all the aliens will be killed by me next, and the first place will still be mine, Zhang Pojian. At this moment, Su Gu's expression changed from indifference at the beginning to excitement. In the duel, his desire to win was finally hooked. Sure enough, the killing speed with only 2 daggers is still too slow. Suddenly, he put the 2 daggers into his waist. This made the people who had been paying attention to this monster-grabbing duel startled. What is Su Ji-yu doing? He actually put his daggers in. If the assassin doesn't bring a dagger, how is he going to kill the enemy? Ma Mingji's expression was extremely nervous. Brother, you can't do anything weird at this time. The martial arts high school student who was arguing with him just now showed a happy look on his face. Is Su Ji-yu giving up? Principal Qian of the first martial arts high school finally showed a happy expression on his face. Assassins don't use daggers. Su Gu's action is like cutting off his own arms. This arrogant boy actually exposed a flaw at this critical moment of victory. The next victory must belong to Zhang Pojian from our school. Mayor Lu Chengwei and Chief Examiner Zhou Zhengsheng also frowned slightly, not understanding what kind of medicine Su Ji-yu, this student, is selling. After Su Ji-yu put away the dagger, he took out another weapon that had been forgotten on his back. A spear. After holding the spear, Su Gu's entire fighting temperament began to change, from the stealth and efficiency of an assassin to the heroic bravery of a spearman. The silver spear body, refracted by the sun, shone with a dangerous light. Su Ji-yu stepped on the ground and stood up, holding the spear. He seemed like an eagle soaring into the sky. Pick up the spear and stab. The spear comes out like a dragon. High-level wild beast, killed. College entrance examination score +53. High-level blood skeleton, killed. College entrance examination score +49. High-level demon flame beast, killed. College entrance examination score +59. ... An inch longer, an inch stronger. Su Ji-yu, who changed his weapon, killed more than twice as many aliens. This is impossible. How is this possible? Zhang Pojian's eyes turned red. He didn't dare to believe that the gap between him and Su Jiyu was so big. Looking at the star aliens around him, quickly turning into corpses, the expression on Zhang Pojian's face gradually changed from arrogant to dull. Sure enough, this kind of long-handled weapon is still efficient in killing enemies. Su Jiyu, who was moving at a high speed, let out a long roar. The first battle, the winner is already clear. Zhang Pojian no longer has the qualifications to surpass Su Jiyu, let alone the ability. But at this moment, the expressions on the faces of those watching the live broadcast became extremely dull and confused. The high mobility of the assassin and the destructive power of the gunner are perfectly combined in Su Jiyu. At this moment, he is galloping in the entire examination room, killing every star alien he meets. At first, the aliens would take the initiative to attack when they met Su Jiyu. Now they run away when they hear a little noise. The high-level star aliens deployed in the entire examination room are rapidly decreasing and consuming because of Su Jiyu alone. Does Su Jiyu want to clear the entire examination room by himself? Outside the examination room, a martial arts high school student who was watching the live broadcast with his mobile phone murmured. His voice was not loud, but this sentence resounded in everyone's heart. Everyone stared at the live broadcast screen of the mobile phone, and they were witnessing the birth of the legend of the college entrance examination. Soon, after the last high-level skeleton twins were pierced and became corpses. This is something that no one dared to think about. Su Jiyu did it. One person, one gun, clear the examination room. At this moment, the whole world seemed to be quiet because of him. At some point, the students ranked 3 to 10 who were still fighting in the examination room came over to Su Jiyu. They looked at the group of corpses and Su Jiyu holding a spear, with a bitter smile on their faces. They took the college entrance examination in the same year as such people, and they were lucky to witness a college entrance examination legend. But unfortunately, no one cared who they were or what they did in this college entrance examination, and all the glory was taken away by Su Jiyu alone. I quit. The 7th one pressed the survival watch. I quit too. The 5th one said, exit the examination room. The 3rd one said, ... Although there will be a star alien race that will be put on the battlefield as the final test question, these people know that they can't snatch points from the powerful Su Jiyu, so they just quit directly. The college entrance examination for these people is over. The effect of Zhang Pojian's blood heat potion on the side has faded. He is pale. Looking at Su Jiyu holding a spear, his face suddenly becomes ashamed and angry, and then desperate. Isn't he an assassin? Why can he still use a spear? Too strong. Why is he so strong? Countless questions flashed through his mind. He wanted to press the survival watch to end the college entrance examination, but he didn't do it in the end. I still have the last blood heat potion. In the final test, I will definitely be able to get points from Su Jiyu. The gap between him and me is not that big. Zhang Pojian roared wildly in his heart. For Su Jiyu, he had already thought that he could beat him from the beginning, but now he only wanted to get points from him. Ha 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 ha. In the examination room, Ma Mingji looked at the figure of his good brother on the screen of his mobile phone and laughed wildly. He was too lazy to argue with the classmates of Zhang Pojian from the first martial arts high school. The two sides were not at the same level at all. Top 10 in the province. That's right, my brother's expression can definitely enter the top 10 in the province. Next, according to the expression of the last star alien killed, the examiner will manually give points. With my brother's performance, he may be able to impact the provincial champion. Provincial champion. Such a student has not appeared in Hangzhou, where the martial arts atmosphere is low, for a long time. At this moment, the students of the comprehensive high school who regarded Su Jiyu as their idol, their faces became more enthusiastic, their hands kept waving in the air, jumping, and shouting. Top scholar Su Jiyu. Su Shen is awesome, too strong, really too strong. Do you know that Su Jiyu is from our school, a student of Hangzhou No. 1 middle school. The rest area of the entire examination room was in a carnival. Although it has not been decided yet, after watching Su Gu's performance, no one thought he couldn't do it. One person cleared the examination room, such a strong performance has not been achieved by many people over the years. If this kind of person can't be the top scholar, who can be? Such a noise even forced the army station nearby to come to maintain order and force these fanatical students to turn off the fire. Although some students of the martial arts high school did not join the carnival, no one finally believed that Zhang Pojian could still win this competition. The corners of their mouths twitched, their expressions were a little dull, and they said in disbelief, "How is this possible? Why is he so strong with a spear in addition to his double daggers? Didn't our teacher tell us, you can only hone one weapon in 3 years of high school and use it as your future martial arts path? Why can Su Ji do this?" Su Gu's behavior of drawing his gun and dominating the examination room has refreshed their martial arts views. "Maybe this is the gap between us and geniuses," someone said bitterly. "Even if he is a genius, this is too exaggerated. You know, Zhang Pojian is also a genius in our school, but Su Ji, who doesn't even have superpowers, can crush him with 2 different martial arts professions. And there is a gap in the quality of their weapons. Su Ji is even using fine steel products. That's right, he doesn't even use superpowers. This, I can only say that this is a monster. ... Su Ji, he is not an assassin." In the VIP viewing room, Lu Yuanmin widened his eyes. What happened to his student was far beyond his understanding as a principal. "I can only ask you at this moment. It should be said that Su Gu is not just an assassin." Zhou Zhengsheng murmured. "Whether it is the combat skills of the assassin or the combat skills of the spear warrior, he has practiced to a level that ordinary students cannot understand. I'm afraid that at least he has perfect mastery of his combat skills, and most of them have already reached the level of mastery." His words caused the entire viewing room to fall into silence. Generally speaking, their students who have fully mastered a combat skill are considered to be the top students in the school. Have you mastered every aspect perfectly, and have you mastered many combat skills? Where did this monster come from? And don't forget, Su Gu also has a knife on his waist. Mayor Lu Chengwei said a bit gaffily. "Before, we always thought it was a decoration he used to confuse his competitors, but after he pulled out a gun, I feel that Su Gu's skill with a knife is very likely to be as good as a pair of daggers and a spear. A student in the college entrance examination can crush all candidates with any of 3 weapons." The corners of the mouths of the principals here twitched. If someone said such things to them in the past, they would suspect that the other person was mentally retarded. But now, they want to refute but don't know how. After a while, a martial arts high school principal stood up, walked to Lu Yuanmin, the principal of Hangcheng No. 1 Middle School, and said, "Congratulations, Principal Lu, your school has produced such a good student." Then others followed suit. "Congratulations, your Hangcheng No. 1 Middle School has suddenly become prosperous. In the future, I hope that our schools can deepen exchanges." Principal Qian of the First Martial Arts High School had a blank expression on his face. After a moment, he also stood up to congratulate Lu Yuanmin, maintaining a trace of dignity for second place. Although the school's Zhang Pojian is still persisting in the examination room, even as the principal, he doesn't think he has any hope of making a comeback. The gap is really too big. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.